for heroes, ready to face anything, are just steps away from the end of their legendary quest. But Kuga points out with a grin that they've still got one last boss standing between them and victory. But just like that, the mood totally shifts as his friends stop dead in their tracks, thanking him for his service. Standing right at the edge of the scary abyss, the leader drops a bombshell. He's firing Kuga. Kuga can only stare, completely blindsided, his mind struggling to catch up to this sudden betrayal. And then, from behind the leader, one of the other party members whispers, "Are we sure about this?" Trying his best to stay cool, Kuga asks his friends, the ones he's known forever, why he's being kicked out. His childhood buddies can't even look him in the eye, shuffling their feet as all their shared memories flash by. The leader steps right up, ready to lay down the crushing truth of their decision. He just flat out tells Kuga, a jack of all trades just doesn't cut it in a party full of masters. And Sarah chimes in, demanding if Kuga finally gets how little he actually brings to the table. Sarah coldly lays it out. Kicking Kuga to the curb is the only move that makes sense for their future, she says. Sarah then orders Kuga into this dangerous, hidden chamber, all by himself, leaving him totally floored by the sudden command. She calls this crazy solo mission his final parting gift for all his years. Can you believe it? The ruthless leader just glares down at his former friend, not a hint of regret on his face. And with no other options, Kuga quietly accepts it. His adventuring days are officially over. Akari speaks up, bravely asking if sending Kuga to what sounds like his death is really going too far. But Sarah cuts her off instantly, declaring Kuga has to go, even if they have to drag him out. Kuga glances back at Makari, offering a soft, "Thank you for standing up for him one last time." Turning his back on everyone, Kuga drops one final, chilling word to Sarah before stepping into the darkness. So, Kuga asks his departing allies, is this really their farewell gift? Because that massive stone door just slammed shut behind him. And just like that, Kuga's trapped all alone in the dark, but trust me, he meets the challenge head-on with a totally cold smile. Now, deep inside this chamber, a massive, ancient eye is watching Kuga as he approaches a super mysterious demon girl. And get this, the demon girl is just staring at her totally unexpected human visitor with pure, unadulterated confusion. Then, she breaks into this mocking smile, asking Kuga if he seriously plans to fight her completely alone. Okay, rewind about 50 years ago. Suddenly, these mysterious dungeons just popped up all over Earth. And with them, magic, monsters, and totally new jobs for us humans to master. Among these new legendary powers was Relive, this super rare spell that automatically resurrects you. But here's the catch, this life-saving magic can only be used once. With the fear of actual permanent death kinda gone, dungeon exploration just exploded, right? And broadcasting these wild, dangerous adventures online? It became this massive global phenomenon. But there's one legendary location that's still way too dangerous for anyone to stream. Deep within the maze lies the infamous hidden room of no return. So, how did this lethal chamber earn its absolutely terrifying reputation? Well, the answer's waiting in the dark, and Kuga is about to find out. Seriously, throughout history? Not a single adventurer has ever survived the secrets of this cursed hidden chamber. Once a traveler dares to cross this threshold, the path back to the dungeon? It's sealed forever. Every single warrior who stepped inside was forced to burn through their precious resurrection magic. Totally stripped of their lives, they were left broken and permanently banned from ever entering another dungeon again. And standing right at the center of all this tragedy? It's the cruel boss monster responsible for all the carnage. She's gazing at Kuga with pure amusement, asking if he truly intends to fight her entirely on his own. Kuga, though? He's completely silent, just standing his ground under her intense, mocking gaze. This is the legendary boss of the Forbidden Room, a vampire who's as beautiful as she is deadly. She smirks at Kuga, playfully asking if he was abandoned and banished by his own allies. Kuga looks away, but he calmly admits that betrayal is definitely one way to describe his current situation. The vampire bursts into this cruel, cackling laughter at his misfortune, but then, her amusement quickly fades into this deep, intense curiosity. She notes that even though he's facing certain death, Kuga is still unnaturally calm. But what secret power is Kuga hiding that gives him such terrifying confidence right in front of this legendary monster? Kuga mutters to himself, admitting he always expected his journey to end in betrayal. He looks up calmly, stating that this abandonment might actually be for the best. The vampire boss watches him from a distance, questioning his bizarrely relaxed attitude. She flashes a deceptively sweet smile, admitting she is just glad he finally arrived. When Kuga offers no response, the deadly boss asks if he wants to know her motives. Summoning a jagged black crystal, she promises that her reasoning is incredibly simple. With a sadistic grin, she unleashes a massive storm of deadly shards, screaming that she did all of this simply because she was bored. Kuga groans as he raises his heavy greatsword just in time to shield himself from the lethal barrage. The violent impact of the crystals pushes him back as he struggles to hold his ground against her overwhelming power. Suddenly, the vampire teleports right beside his ear, mockingly whispering that he is far too rough with his sword. Kuga grunts as he barely deflects her lethal slash, the sheer force of her attack sending him sliding backward. The vampire smiles playfully, expressing genuine amusement that Kuga managed to block yet another of her deadly strikes. Utilizing her innate teleportation skill, the vampire vanishes and reappears right behind Kuga's head to mock his swordsmanship. Seriously, if she hadn't whispered, he would have taken a fatal hit. Realizing defense is no longer an option, Kuga steals his resolve and prepares to launch his very first counterattack. With a sudden burst of speed, Kuga unleashes a massive swing, forcing the surprised vampire to retreat. The vampire grunts as she leaps backward to dodge the swing, but Kuga immediately rushes forward to keep up the pressure. They lock eyes in a tense, silent standoff, with only the razor-sharp edge of Kuga's blade separating them. The vampire lashes out with a flurry of strikes, but Kuga counters each blow with perfect precision. She gasps in shock as Kuga's relentless pressure begins to overwhelm her legendary defenses. Kuga grunts as he pours all his remaining strength into a decisive strike, but can he truly defeat a legendary vampire on his own? Oh wow, Kuga's hands are a mess, but don't you worry, he's instantly sealing those wounds with some seriously powerful healing magic. The legendary vampire is just recoiling in absolute shock, like, what is this guy even planning next? She's watching him so closely, and you can tell she's realizing this human warrior has some incredibly rare and versatile healing abilities. And then, leaning in super close, she mockingly asks if Kuga is just some mediocre jack of all trades, you know? Kuga stays silent for a beat, and then quietly admits, yeah, maybe she's got a point there. But deep down, trust me, Kuga is not having it, rejecting that label with pure, bitter resentment. He's remembering that super prestigious hero title, the one that totally fooled him into thinking he was destined for, like, ultimate greatness. On paper, these legendary hero classes are supposed to master everything: swords, defense, offense, support, healing magic. They look invincible to everyone else, right? A hero boasts these incredibly balanced, high-level stats across the board, looking like the ultimate, flawless class that can handle anything. But here's the thing, there's a hidden, devastating flaw to the hero class that completely changes the game. A jack-of-all-trades hero just can't compete with warriors who dedicate themselves to mastering one single, specialized discipline, can they? And this balance issue? It becomes a fatal flaw because of the unique magical barrier surrounding this dungeon. Under the barrier's really strict rules, raiding parties are limited to a maximum of only 4 members. With such incredibly limited space, the absolute best strategy requires a team of hyper-specialized experts. Every single member has to maximize their unique strengths to make sure the entire party actually survives. For devastating physical offense, the party's got Sarah, the super-skilled sword saint, locked in. Yuria, the saintess, totally takes charge of their magical offense, unleashing destructive spells from the backlines. And Mikari, the support caster, is there to provide those crucial buffs, keeping her allies performing at their absolute peak. But when it comes to a dedicated specialist for healing, this team has nobody. This bizarre, unexpected vacancy means Kuga is forced to take on the role of the party's healer, but this compromise? It might just spell disaster. But when Kuga clashes with this dangerous vampire, something totally unexpected starts to stir within him, you know. It's like this deep, unfamiliar feeling just surfaces, something he's never felt before in his life. And Kuga? He's finally tasting true freedom, realizing just how liberating it is to fight without that constant burden of keeping his ungrateful allies alive. Suddenly, the vampire just stops her attack to talk to him directly. She admits there's something specific that's been bothering her for a little while now. And she points to this bizarre, super ornate device just floating there silently nearby. Kuga glances over and casually identifies this strange flying object as a streaming drone. Totally normal, right? The clueless vampire snatches the drone, asking if streaming is some kind of betrayal, and honestly, Kuga is completely flustered. Now he's facing this absolutely absurd dilemma. Does he really have to explain modern internet broadcasting to a bloodthirsty monster? He explains that the drone broadcasts live video to the entire world, letting viewers comment in real time. But as the world watches, what shocking truth is about to be uncovered? While Kuga's breaking down the mechanics of this streaming drone, the deadly vampire just completely halts her relentless assault. Instead of attacking, she's just listening to his explanation with this sparkling, childlike wonder. She quickly realizes that their whole deadly duel is being broadcast live for the entire world to see. Kuga confirms her suspicion, quietly admitting that the drone was actually a parting gift from his former comrades. It was the very last thing they handed him right before they totally abandoned him to fend for himself. And the vampire? She finds the behavior of his former allies incredibly cold and heartless. Kuga offers a brief word of thanks, totally surprised by this unexpected empathy from a dangerous monster. Overwhelmed with gratitude, she joyfully reveals that Kuga is the first person in her life to ever treat her with such patience and kindness. Her curiosity immediately flares up again, and she eagerly asks what the live viewers are writing about her. Kuga opens the live chat to check, but what shocking reactions will the viewers leave for this cute yet deadly beast? And get this, Kuga looks at the screen and drops a bomb. The viewers think this super scary vampire is actually adorable. Can you believe it? This fierce bloodsucker practically chokes on disbelief, her cheeks heating up from the utterly bizarre compliment. Seriously, she's staring at the screen, totally flabbergasted as comment after comment pours in, all calling her cute. Kuga, ever the calm one, just confirms it. Pretty much every single person watching is completely fixated on how incredibly adorable she looks. Mortified, she buries her face, sputtering that the humans are being unbelievably disrespectful. She crosses her arms, totally huffy, and demands to know if all humans are this ridiculously weird. Kuga can't help but watch, highly amused, as this fearsome monster throws a fit over her sudden internet fame. He tries to explain, gently, that the viewers are just saying what they see, but that only makes her blush even harder. Then, the vampire starts fidgeting, her eyes wide, and asks Kuga if she can make a really, really strange request. With these huge, sparkling eyes, she practically begs Kuga to teach her how to stream, kicking off the wildest partnership ever. Kuga is just frozen, utterly shocked by the deadly vampire's bizarre demand. He's like, "Are you kidding me right now?" And here she is, just floating there like it's nothing, completely doubling down on her crazy idea. She explains, all smug, that this whole human broadcasting thing has just completely hooked her. She's fascinated. With her cheeks flushed and eyes sparkling, she's practically begging Kuga to show her all the secrets. She wants to be a streaming master. Kuga throws his hands up, totally defeated, just trying to wrap his head around this completely insane proposition. He points out the obvious problem, asking if a dungeon boss can even leave her room, but she just waves it away with total confidence. She spills that her whole day is just sleeping until someone trips her alarm, then she hops into an outfit and teleports to fight him. Just like today, she was catching some Z's before someone disturbed her. She just threw on her gear and rushed over to fight him, like usual. She's practically bouncing now, so thrilled about her total freedom to just go wherever she wants. Kuga is just staring, completely blank-faced, as her logic leaves him utterly speechless. Will he actually train this vampire to be the next big streamer? So, this super enthusiastic vampire lays out her ultimate pitch, practically begging Kuga to become her official streaming partner. But then, she leans in super close, totally unable to resist that intoxicating taste of Kuga's blood. Whoa, okay, she quickly backtracks, totally flustered, insisting he just seems like the perfect partner, you know? Meanwhile, Kuga's just standing there, completely floored, wondering how his life spiraled into this bizarre situation. Seriously, can you believe how fast she goes from wanting lessons to demanding they stream together? But as Kuga looks back, he remembers the one massive hurdle that's been holding him back. With his hero days totally over, Kuga's really struggling to find any real sense of purpose these days. Then, in a flashback to his student days, we see Kuga and his classmates streaming their dungeon adventures, just for fun. Kuga was always the protector, right? Focusing entirely on fighting monsters and keeping his friends safe. He just feels way too boring for the camera, forever trapped in the shadows of others. But can this hyperactive vampire finally drag the forgotten hero back into the spotlight? Kuga then remembers his former ally, Sarah, whose final parting gift he only accepted out of sheer hopelessness. Honestly, at his lowest point, he just didn't care if his journey ended right there inside this dark dungeon. That painful betrayal left the fallen hero completely empty, drowning in a deep, inescapable despair. But then, everything changes when this bizarre, energetic vampire suddenly crashes into his life. Kuga knows he might be completely out of his mind to even consider her ridiculous offer. Yet, looking at her bright, infectious smile, he can't help but feel a tiny spark of hope. With a quiet sigh, Kuga finally gives his agreement to her absolutely crazy plan. And then, a genuine smile returns to the hero's face as the vampire just beams with absolute joy. This marks the birth of the most chaotic duo in dungeon history. But can a banished hero and a hyperactive vampire actually survive their first live broadcast, or will the streaming world tear them apart? Kuga agrees to the stream, but then realizes he doesn't even know her name or what she even wants to broadcast. She proudly introduces herself as Alicia, but admits she has absolutely no idea who actually gave her that name. She explains that the name Alicia was just there, floating in her mind the very second she first woke up. Kuga quietly takes in this bizarre origin story, choosing to let the mystery slide instead of grilling her about it. To make things official, he introduces himself, sharing his name and age to set some ground rules for this wild partnership. Alicia thinks his name is absolutely legendary, and trust me, her sudden hype leaves Kuga totally blushing. Quickly shaking off the embarrassment, Kuga gets them right back on track to talk about their upcoming stream. Alicia confesses she was just incredibly bored one day when this absolutely wild idea hit her out of nowhere. She looks at him and asks what would happen if she ruled the entire world, instantly making Kuga break out in a cold sweat. Yep, her ultimate dream is to become the world's next terrifying final boss. Can Kuga actually survive her insane ambition, or is this stream doomed from day one? Naturally, Kuga has to ask, how on earth does she plan to pull off becoming the ultimate final boss? Alicia explains that step 1 to boss status is reaching the legendary SS rank level. She hands him a handwritten checklist of the official requirements, and Kuga can only bury his face in his hands at the sheer absurdity of it all. We're talking defeating over 30 invaders, crushing A and S rank parties, bending another S rank boss to her will, building a giant castle lair, and somehow clearing out an existing SS rank slot. Honestly, Kuga is actually shocked by how incredibly organized and detailed these dungeon promotion rules turn out to be. But here's the catch: Kuga hesitates, wondering if beating up human explorers is really a line they want to cross. Alicia quietly nods, her bubbly energy completely vanishing as she looks at her new partner. She instantly feels terrible, admitting she got so swept up in her dream that she forgot he's actually a human himself. Leaning her head right against his chest, she softly points out that since Kuga used to be an explorer, he probably hates the idea of fighting his own kind. But Kuga just gives her this incredibly calm look and reassures her that, honestly, he has zero issues with fighting other explorers. Alicia tilts her head in total confusion, but then Kuga drops a major bombshell about how this dungeon actually works. He calmly points out that there are absolutely no rules stopping explorers from turning on each other, leaving our vampire princess completely speechless. Picture this. To even pass those dungeon checkpoints, every single explorer must first be cast with a mandatory auto-revival spell. Talk about a safety net. This unique magic ensures that any explorer killed inside is instantly teleported to safety and fully resurrected. But here's the catch: this incredible safety net is a luxury that only works once in an explorer's entire lifetime. The second you use up that single resurrection, you are permanently banned from ever stepping foot in the dungeon again. And because of this guaranteed second chance, the guild basically grants explorers total freedom to act at their own risk. And yes, that absolute freedom means turning their blades against each other is entirely permitted. Kuga even drops a wild detail: some popular streamers actually build their entire content around hunting down other players. He then warns Alicia about the real threat: the 4 elite S-rank parties currently dominating the dungeon's leaderboard. Next, Kuga introduces the third prominent group of elite explorers, known simply as the Duelists. Alicia gasps in genuine surprise, suddenly so eager to learn more about these powerful human opponents. That's when Alicia pulls out the official dungeon guidelines, pointing out a crucial rule for boss promotions. The official document confirms it. Ascending to an SS rank boss actually requires successfully defeating an entire S rank explorer party. Alicia quickly realizes that with only 4 S rank parties in existence, her targets are extremely limited. Kuga confirms her calculation as they both ponder the sheer, brutal difficulty of climbing the dungeon ranks. Alicia looks up at her partner, suddenly burning with curiosity about his own rank before he became a monster. Kuga casually reveals that he actually used to belong to an elite A-rank party before his betrayal. Alicia nods in understanding, slowly piecing together how this crazy hierarchy of power works between them. But then she asks if there are still stronger explorers out there, completely unaware of the storm her question is about to unleash. Kuga confirms her suspicions with a nod, validating all her theories about the dungeon's high-ranking hierarchy. Since she's totally missing from the official lists of S-rank bosses, Kuga turns the tables and directly asks Alicia about her actual rank. Alicia looks him dead in the eye and drops a truth bomb. She doesn't actually have a rank at all. Kuga wonders if she's some kind of hidden boss, and honestly, Alicia admits he's probably right. With a playful smirk, she explains that starting her climb all the way from zero is way more fun anyway. Then she leans in close, ready to reveal the absolute master plan for their new joint streaming channel. Alicia passionately declares that they're going to stream her entire journey live, rising from a rankless boss to the ultimate final boss of the dungeon. By broadcasting her raw, unmatched dominance, she plans to strike absolute terror into the hearts of every human explorer out there. She wants to put a permanent end to the tasteless, greedy games of these human invaders once and for all. With a chilling glare, she sets her sights on dungeon streaming itself. But how will the human world react when a monster hijacks their feeds? It sounds like a brilliant plan, but trust me, Kuga instantly spots one massive, glaring flaw in her logic. He's left silently panicking, wondering what on earth his actual role is supposed to be in this chaotic broadcast. Fast forward a few hours, and this incredibly bizarre duo is fully prepped to make absolute internet history. Standing right in front of the floating camera, Alicia gives an energetic wave to see if their signal is actually working. Boom. Instantly, the screen lights up with shocked reactions as human viewers realize this is definitely not a hoax. Alicia officially kicks off their very first stream, completely oblivious to the absolute storm of comments flooding the chat while Kuga watches the numbers spike in pure disbelief. The sheer volume of incoming messages is unlike anything they've ever seen, proving the human world is already totally hooked on their stream. An ecstatic Alicia grabs Kuga, celebrating the massive success of their first few minutes live. Kuga reluctantly plays along, but deep down, he knows they've just crossed a line that no monster has ever dared to cross before. News of a banished human hero teaming up with a dungeon boss spreads like wildfire across the globe, but how will the human empire respond to this ultimate threat? Alicia beams at the live camera, excitedly announcing that their very first stream is already pulling in an explosive amount of attention. She eagerly declares that they'll be doing an explorer hunt for their next broadcast, though she stumbles over her words halfway through, leaving Kuga watching her nervously. Catching herself, Alicia pivots with this terrifyingly bloodthirsty grin, promising a brutal, straight-up human hunting stream that leaves Kuga absolutely sweating bullets. Instantly, the live chat explodes into pure chaos as human viewers across the globe realize a literal dungeon boss just declared war on them. Standing right at the dungeon entrance, Alicia suddenly points something out to Kuga, her eyes locking onto the horizon. Sure enough, a group of human explorers is heading right for them, and Alicia confirms these are the exact invaders she warned him about. Alicia can't help but smirk. They arrived right on schedule. Meanwhile, Kuga just stands there, keeping his cool. Two of those explorers, a guy and a girl, are practically beaming, so relieved to have finally made it to their destination. The girl looks around, sighing at how incredibly nostalgic it feels to be adventuring with her old high school club mates again. She starts opening up, confessing there's something she's always wanted, and he listens, nodding along before trailing off. Turns out, her secret, long-held wish was simply to be in the exact same adventuring party as Kenzu. Kenzu blinks, totally caught off guard and confused by this sudden, out-of-nowhere confession. But suddenly, clunk, a heavy sound echoes, and both Kenzu and his companion whirl around, eyes wide with shock. They can only stare in absolute disbelief as they realize a brutal battle has just erupted right next to them. Chaos hits instantly as desperate voices scream out, Yamajita and Chikako. There stands Alicia, towering victoriously over the fallen explorers, while one defeated man curses his fate as blood stains the dirt. Kenza desperately reaches out for Akina, while she cries out his name, both of them broken and struggling through their deep wounds. Kenzu's eyes widen in sheer horror, asking himself how on earth their adventure could end so fast and so tragically. He thinks back to their day, everything was going perfectly, they'd survived so much before, and they definitely weren't being overconfident. How did it come to this? Straining with every ounce of strength, Kenza reaches his blood-soaked hand toward an unconscious Akina, desperately whispering her name. His face contorts in pure pain as his trembling hand reaches out, wishing more than anything he could just touch her one last time. With the absolute last of her strength, Akina's bloodied hands reach back out, weakly calling Kenzu's name. Suddenly, we're pulled into a memory. Akina's face flashes before him, wide-eyed and smiling so brightly, from a happier time before all this chaos. Kenzu can only stare upward in utter shock, that beautiful, smiling memory of her still lingering over the brutal reality of their defeat. He remembers Alicia beaming at them, thanking him for their hard work, a memory of kindness that hurts even worse now as Kenzu lets out a silent scream of pure anguish. He looks up, desperately demanding to know what she really is as she floats there in her terrifying demon form, but she just hits him with a dismissive Her expression turns ice cold as she drops a chilling truth. To them, this isn't personal, they are simply hunting humans. Kenzu's eyes widen in absolute horror and rage. How can she say that so calmly? He's struggling to even process this brutal nightmare. But Alicia doesn't care. In fact, she calmly admits she doesn't get why he's so incredibly outraged by what they're doing. Then, she drops this bomb. Isn't their little human hunting game exactly what humans do to other creatures every single day? Kenzu gasps silently, completely stunned by the twisted logic of her comparison. She looks right at him, demanding to know the real reason they stream their dungeon raids in the first place. Is it for the money, or just a desperate craving for attention? Hearing her reduce their lives to that makes Kenzu's blood absolutely boil. She says she gets the urge for fame, but points out how messed up it is that her kind has to risk their lives for what she calls mere human hobbies. With a faint, mocking look, she coldly tells Kenzu he should actually be thanking them. Can you believe the nerve of this woman? Kenzu stares back in pure rage, cursing her name and every single cruel word coming out of her mouth. Before he can even react, Alicia blasts off, tearing across the dungeon floor with blinding, terrifying speed. She pretends she didn't even hear him, asking if he said something, before floating away with another casual Talk about infuriating. Kenzu stays completely silent, his face unreadable as he just watches her drift away into the shadows. Deep down, he knows the terrifying truth. Alicia didn't hold back a single thing in her attack, and they are in serious, serious trouble. His mind flashes to that hopeful B-class party who got ruthlessly slaughtered, a grim reminder of just how lethal this job really is. A powerhouse vampire like Alicia shouldn't even be wandering around on this floor, meaning their deadly encounter was just a horrific stroke of bad luck. Kenzu is still shaking from the brutal slaughter, mourning those poor victims, but Alicia? She casually turns to Kuga, asking if their stream is pulling in good numbers. Kenzu can barely choke out an uncomfortable, yeah, his mind still completely reeling from the horror he just witnessed. Alicia just grins, absolutely thrilled that the viewer count is skyrocketing. She eagerly looks at Kenzu, asking if the humans watching are finally, properly terrified. Right on cue, the live chat explodes in absolute outrage, with disgusted viewers screaming for the monsters' heads. Alicia wears a smug little smile, confident that these humans are finally learning their lesson from this gruesome broadcast. But then, the chat takes a bizarre turn, anger twists into a disturbing fascination as viewers describe a strange, burning rush, catching Alicia completely off guard. Suddenly, a comment flashes by, reminding everyone that those slaughtered adventurers were actually the ones experimenting on monsters. The viewer spills all the dark details, exposing their cruel experiments on slimes and suggesting these heroes were corrupt from the very beginning. Alicia is still stunned by this wild twist, but she decides the show must go on and declares they are keeping the stream live. Things spiral into pure chaos as some viewers embrace a dark new awakening, forcing Kuga to step in and desperately remind them that monsters are still deadly. Totally overwhelmed by how out of hand this is getting, a distressed Alicia reaches out, calling for Kuga. Distraught by the chat's twisted reaction, she starts to wonder, if humans can be this cruel, are they the real monsters here? Alicia fiercely declares that humans who torture monsters are worse than any beast, and a hesitant Kuga can't help but agree. Weighted down by the unsettling truth, Kuga just can't bring himself to deny her harsh reality check about humanity's dark side. Thanks to the unpredictable audience, Alicia's perfect broadcast plan is totally derailed, and a strange new force is beginning to stir. Cut to Kenzo walking with Alicia through a bustling city square, surrounded by falling flower petals and curious, staring onlookers. Alicia turns to him with the sweetest smile, reaching out her hand and suggesting they hold hands. Kenzu's heart skips a beat. He blushes furiously, totally hesitating to reach back and take her hand. Alicia floats just a few steps ahead, turning back to him with a playful, questioning look at his sudden shyness. Is the tough guy embarrassed? Alicia teases Kenzu, and believe it or not, he actually admits it. Alicia giggles, teasing him about this surprisingly shy side, and Kenzu can only nod sheepishly. No more waiting. Alicia firmly grabs his hand, declaring they are warping straight to their destination. Suddenly, they are in a whole new place, and Alicia confidently turns back to ask him how he liked the ride. Kenzu gazes out at a breathtaking, magical city bathed in moonlight and falling petals as Alicia whispers, "Welcome to the city of monsters." Just like it sounds, she explains only monsters are usually allowed in here, leaving Kenzu completely stunned. Online, a viewer's mind is totally blown at the sheer scale of a secret city built just for monsters. Another fan chimes in, completely charmed by how gorgeous and unique the architecture actually looks. And with monsters this adorable, another viewer admits they're already starting to fall in love with them. Seeing all the love pouring in from the human viewers, Alicia just smiles serenely. And she drops a bombshell on Kenzu. He might be the first human to ever set foot in this legendary place. Talk about pressure. Kenzu instantly panics, wondering if it's really okay for him to be here. Alicia quickly reassures him, it's not technically forbidden, even if it is incredibly unusual. But when she asks if he feels safe, Kenzu can't help but remember his fragile human nature in a city full of monsters. It'll be fine, Alicia says confidently, starting to explain their relationship before suddenly cutting herself off. Wait, does she not know? Alicia looks surprisingly unsure of how to actually define what they are to each other. She struggles for a second before calling Kenzu her something, leaving him totally speechless. Kuga quietly accepts the vague title, realizing there's actually some truth to her mysterious words. And just like that, Kuga officially takes on the undefined, yet incredibly crucial, role of Alicia's something. Kenzu worries if streaming from a monster city is even legal, but Alicia just laughs it off. Trust her, there are absolutely no rules against it. The chat is absolutely blowing up. Everyone's losing it over our vampire girl's totally chill attitude, and they can't believe they're actually seeing a live stream from a hidden monster city. But wait, Alicia has a secret agenda. She casually drops that her ultimate dream is to become the literal final boss. That means striking pure terror into human hearts and shutting down shady dungeon streams for good. But then, Alicia's face completely freezes in shock. In the chat, a viewer points out how charming the city is, totally amazed that monsters actually live such normal, everyday lives. Suddenly, everyone's falling in love with these adorable creatures, realizing their whole view on monsters is about to change forever. With a sweet, knowing smile, Alicia invites Kenzu back to her temporary place, leaving us wondering, is she playing a much bigger game here? Suddenly, Kenzu and the local monsters freeze, their eyes glued to something unbelievable happening right in the middle of the street. Kenzu's shock turns to pure panic as the monsters around him start backing away in sheer terror. He whips around to see Alicia and Kuga strolling right behind him, while whispers ripple through the crowd. Is that the famous Vampire-chan? Boom! A massive, terrifying Minotaur stomps onto the scene, absolutely dominating the street with his colossal presence. Chat goes into absolute meltdown, screaming that this is a deadly S-rank boss and telling Kenzu to run for his life, but he's just paralyzed in utter disbelief. Instead of running, Alicia just beams and waves at this towering beast, casually calling him Min-chan like they're old high school buddies. The giant monster stares down at her, totally baffled, while Alicia just looks up with the most innocent, "What's wrong?" face you've ever seen. The stream chat is losing its mind over this cute nickname for a literal S-rank threat, while Kenzu is just standing there, completely speechless. Alicia turns to Kuga, who is standing right next to this mountain of a monster, and happily decides it's time for introductions. She proudly introduces this terrifying powerhouse to Kuga, playfully calling the giant beast her good friend, Min-chan. Then she introduces Kuga as her something, leaving poor Kenzu panicking even harder in the background. Believe it or not, the giant Minotaur actually bows politely and introduces himself as Minotaurus, leaving Kuga to awkwardly stutter out a thank you. But Minotaurus has some serious doubts, gently warning Alicia that bringing a fragile human like Kuga into a monster city might not be the best idea. Kuga can't get over how surprisingly cute the giant's voice is, even though he knows he should probably be listening to that very sensible warning. Minotaurus apologizes for being so blunt, but his gaze suddenly sharpens as he sternly tells Kuga that he is definitely something else. He actually commends Kuga's remarkable courage for stepping into a city of monsters, which just makes Kuga stutter out an embarrassed apology. Poor Kuga is totally flustered, but the livestream chat is 100% on the monster's side, and honestly, some think this giant beast is surprisingly cute. Sure, Kuga has his own serious doubts about a human entering this monster metropolis, but trust me, he has two very compelling reasons to stay. First of all, going back to human society right after his good-natured party was brutally massacred? Yeah, that is a massive, life-threatening risk. And the second big reason? Alicia. There is just no way she can escape this dungeon all on her own. He did think about splitting up, but here is the catch right now, neither of them has any way to contact the other. Sure, a reunion might be possible, but Kuga knows deep down that if this split goes wrong, they might never see each other again. While Kuga is having this heavy existential crisis, Alicia just giggles a silly ahaha, prompting the chat to call Kuga a total buzzkill and a weirdo. She points to herself, totally oblivious, asking if the viewers are talking about her, while Kuga just stares on with a completely blank expression. Then, she turns right to the viewers with wide eyes, innocently asking, "Hey, what does Kumazimi mean?" Kuga has to explain the grim truth. Kumazimi is the name of his former party, the very one that betrayed and killed him. Minotaurus quietly takes this in, his massive shadow looming as he continues to observe the human. Suddenly, Alicia pipes up, affectionately calling the giant beast Minchan as she gets ready to speak. The massive Minotaur stares down intently, listening closely as Alicia steps up, preparing to defend Kuga. She boldly declares that Kuga is her something and warns Minotaurus not to dare hurt him, leaving Kuga completely speechless. Even the mighty Minotaurus is totally flustered, completely baffled by her bizarrely protective, yet vague declaration about Kuga. One viewer in the chat points out the obvious. It looks like the giant monster is the only sensible one in this entire crazy situation. Kuga can only let out a heavy sigh as the live stream suddenly cuts to black, leaving them completely without their online audience. But Alicia, ever the whimsical one, asks if they can make a quick detour, and Kuga can only give a very hesitant agreement. As they stroll through this surreal monster city, Alicia wonders aloud what Kuga might like, and he softly admits he's got a real thing for apples. Alicia smiles at his simple taste, reaching out to grab one of the many apples surrounding them. With a warm smile, she admits she loves apples too, especially the green ones, but trust me, this city has way more in store for their journey than just fruit. Alicia casually asks the monster vendor how much for two, and he instantly replies that it'll be 500 yen. Wait, what? Kuga practically chokes, letting out a loud shout of pure disbelief at the exchange. He tries to step in, wondering if his ears are playing tricks on him, while Alicia just looks at him, asking if there's a problem. Right on cue, the monster vendor pulls out a 500 yen coin and a 1,000 yen bill, handing the larger note straight to Alicia. Kuga literally screams in absolute shock, totally blown away by what this monster is doing. He quickly explains he's just shocked they're using actual human money, leaving Alicia and the monster staring at him in total confusion. Alicia tilts her head, wondering if his mind being blown by the shared currency is really that strange of a reaction. But Kuga's brain is already spinning. Think about it. If the currency of the Japanese dungeon is yen, does that mean other monster cities in different countries are using their own national currencies too? Talk about a massive global system. We know dungeons are confirmed in 9 countries: Japan, the United States, China, Thailand, the UAE, France, Egypt, Brazil, and Australia. And here's the kicker. Each of these 9 nations, including Japan, has exactly 1 dungeon within its borders. And he knows for a fact that the entrance to Japan's dungeon is located right in Tokyo's Ariake district. He realizes that because of this, and with China and Thailand holding the other Asian dungeons, Japan's dungeon is pretty isolated, making its population overwhelmingly Japanese, a totally unique cultural vibe. Still trying to wrap his head around this economy, Kuga asks Alicia where they even get this money, but she just looks back, totally baffled. Alicia explains that they just get small amounts of cash handed to them daily, implying a regular, consistent distribution. Kuga immediately connects the dots. Could this actually be some kind of monster basic income? He insists on paying for the apples himself, since it's just normal human cash anyway, but Alicia is left looking completely confused by his offer. Alicia just smiles warmly, telling Kuga not to hold back because, trust me, she is absolutely insisting on treating him today. Later that night, under the soft glow of a gorgeous full moon, the two of them pull up to a cozy, inviting little house. Once they are inside, Alicia gently encourages him to just relax and make himself right at home. But Kuga is just standing there, trying to process the wild reality of ending up inside Alicia's temporary place. Believe it or not, this cozy spot is just a temporary placeholder until she can build her own grand castle. Kuga actually planned to stay at a local inn to keep his distance, but well, plans change. Alicia, on the other hand, has zero guard up and cheerfully demands to know why he is still hesitating. She warmly welcomes him in, settling them both down for what should be a nice, quiet evening. Instead, Kuga sits there in tense silence, visibly nervous about what this shared dinner actually means. But look at Alicia, she is just smiling warmly, genuinely excited to share this simple meal with her guest. And then comes the big surprise. That grand dinner is literally just a single green apple. Talk about an awkward shift. Kuga is struggling to stay composed while Alicia slips away for a relaxing bath under the moonlight. As the warm water soothes her, she lets out a soft, blissful sigh of pure contentment. Meanwhile, Kuga just calmly keeps munching on his meager apple, trying to act completely unbothered by the quiet atmosphere. Suddenly, a box labeled as a simple meal appears, signaling that their dinner is officially over. Kuga is left sitting alone in the living room, and you can see the exact moment a realization starts to dawn on him. Outside, the full moon is shining bright when suddenly, Alicia lets out a startled cry from inside. She frantically grabs Kuga, pulling at him and warning him that a major crisis has just popped up. Turning bright red with embarrassment, she stammers out the big news. There is only one bed for them to share. She just stares at that single bed, completely distressed about how they are supposed to sleep tonight. Alicia's face turns bright red because, trust me, she knows it's totally improper for a monster to share a bed with a human. Kuga keeps his poker face on, but inside? He's definitely realizing his day has been one wild, unprecedented ride. As his host, Alicia absolutely insists there is no way she's letting Kuga sleep on the cold floor tonight. Kuga casually shrugs it off, leaving Alicia to sigh in defeat because, well, what other choice do they have? But wait, Kuga's eyes light up as he suddenly announces he's got the perfect, simple solution. Before she can even protest, he rolls himself right into a makeshift sleeping bag on the floor, giving her the entire bed. Alicia just stares down at him, totally bewildered and maybe a little irritated by his extreme reaction. She watches him slowly drift off to sleep, while she stays wide awake under the glow of the bright moonlight. But just as silence falls over the room, Alicia's eyes sharpen with a sudden, dangerous realization. A mysterious little smile creeps across her face as she slowly leans in close to him. Without a second thought, Alicia crawls directly over Kuga's sleeping body. She presses herself right against him, and trust me, every single movement she makes is calculated and deliberate. Kuga doesn't move a muscle, his face completely unreadable as Alicia lingers dangerously close to his side. Suddenly, Kuga gasps as a sharp, unexpected sting of pain jolts him wide awake. He wakes up in a total panic, staring at the intruder while Alicia looks back at him with wide, startled eyes. Kuga demands to know why his anesthesia failed to work, and while Alicia quickly apologizes, what is she really planning? In a flash, Kuga pins her down, demanding to know what is behind this sudden, aggressive behavior. He brandishes a syringe, his frustration mounting by the second as he presses her for the absolute truth. Alicia finally cracks and confesses her true intent. She only wanted to get a sample of his blood. Now, she's literally begging Kuga to just let her take that blood sample while he's still wide awake. Tears in her eyes and blushing hard, Alicia confesses the truth. She just can't get the unique taste of his blood out of her head. Kuga can only stare in disbelief. It hits him right then, all that political talk? Yeah, that was never this vampire's real priority. He watches her closely, wondering if she really did all this out of a desperate, primal craving for his very life force. Finally, Kuga breaks the silence, telling her to listen closely because he's about to propose a little compromise. He's willing to give her a blood sample voluntarily, but only if this extraction process doesn't actually kill him. Alicia freezes in absolute shock, her eyes going wide as she tries to process his sudden willingness to cooperate. She stammers in disbelief, asking him, is he seriously just going to hand over his precious blood that easily? Overcome with pure joy, Alicia lunges forward to hug Kuga, thanking him over and over for his sudden generosity. With the deal officially made, Alicia wastes no time drawing the sample, and Kuga watches as this vampire finally gets her wish. Alicia stares back at Kuga, completely satisfied, her primal hunger finally quieted. But as the silence lingers, you have to wonder, will this dangerous intimacy lead to a bond or absolute catastrophe? Alicia happily confirms that the blood sample she just secured is more than enough for what she needs. Kuga pauses, asking her a direct question. Does she usually resort to biting people straight on just to feed? Alicia blushes instantly, admitting that biting is actually totally inappropriate for some pretty complicated reasons. Kuga just nods, calmly accepting the bizarre reality of the arrangement they've got going on here. But Alicia reminds him of one crucial thing. Despite this connection, he is still neither her kin nor a loyal follower. Kuga remains stoic, staring out into the distance as day slowly fades into night. Suddenly, a massive surge of energy erupts and Kuga cries out as the sheer intensity completely overwhelms him. As the dust finally settles, Kuga and Alicia stand beside the glowing magic circle, their task finally complete. Alicia beams with excitement, proudly announcing that this latest collection brings her grand total to 26. Kuga does the math, noting that combining yesterday's 4 samples with today's 4 brings their current run to 8 in total. Alicia is staring down the insane requirements to reach SS rank, counting up the 18 invaders she's already hunted down in her past. She only needs 4 more encounters to hit that magic 30, and she's already mapping out the remaining steps to clear her path. Just look at that livestream chat go wild. Viewers are buzzing, hyping up how easy they made that last victory look and cheering them on. Watching those messages fly by, Kuga can't help but feel a little overwhelmed by this massive wave of support from the audience. He notices the audience is quickly adapting to their intense new hunting content, even if a few viewers are totally grossed out by it. It's a total battleground in the chat, half supportive cheers, half brutal criticism. Talk about a polarizing job, right? Kuga takes a quick breath to collect his thoughts, giving Alicia the nod that it's time to move forward with their plan. But then, out of nowhere, a cheerful greeting calls out from the shadows, making them spin around to spot their next potential target. Both of them freeze in absolute shock, their eyes wide as they process the unexpected arrival of a whole new party. As the dust clears, a group of complete strangers stands before them, and trust me, their next big challenge has officially arrived. Instantly, the chat explodes. The viewers recognize this mysterious group, identifying them as the infamous Monster Slayers. The group steps closer, introducing themselves with a casual vibe that definitely masks their true, dark intentions. The chat warns that these guys are just lackeys for the brutal S-rank group, the Evil Slayers, as viewers break down the 4 top-tier streaming styles and the sick cruelty behind their methods. And let me tell you, the Evil Slayers are notorious for hunting down monsters in the most twisted, sadistic ways imaginable. Kuga instantly realizes these underlings are cut from the exact same cloth as their masters when the group leader calls out to them. The leader of the Monster Slayers starts mocking them, claiming their recent streaming stunts have caught his interest. With a smug smile, he lets Kuga know that their latest stream performance has brought them some very unwanted attention. But Alicia? She is completely oblivious to the threat, actually giggling with pure, naive excitement at all the attention. Meanwhile, the audience is screaming at Kuga in the chat, warning him that this party is incredibly aggressive and dangerous to engage. While the chat desperately begs Alicia to watch her back, the Monster Slayers are already gearing up for their next move. Look at those twisted grins. The Monster Slayers are locking their predatory eyes onto Kuga and Alicia, and trust me, the hunt is officially on. Boom! A sudden, violent strike tears right through the ground, forcing Kuga and his companion to scramble backward. They narrowly dodge the impact, their eyes instantly locking onto the aggressor, who just launched that surprise attack. The attacker actually mocks their reflexes, while his companion just stands on the sidelines, watching with a cold, detached look. Kuga's mind is racing. Who exactly are these A-class hunters, and can he really handle the threat they pose? But the vampire? She is eerily composed, actually finding the sudden arrival of these powerful adversaries surprisingly convenient. Kuga turns to face the group of strangers now blocking their path, his initial confusion quickly turning into serious concern. She realizes that engaging this A-class party will help her fulfill her advancement conditions, and she is so ready to strike. With a wild, manic grin, the attacker lunges forward, shouting with pure excitement as he closes the distance to start the fight. Steel clashes against steel in a blur of motion. Neither side is willing to yield even a single inch here. She struggles to parry his heavy blow while he just laughs, his manic expression broadcast live to a cheering chat room. The hunter points out Shitahara, the fencer, desperately warning his party to watch out for that man's lethal blade. Alicia registers the sudden shout just as a massive fireball erupts, forcing her to react in a split second. The blast tears through the air, but Alicia doesn't flinch. She stays completely focused on the impending threat. She summons her dark power, preparing to intercept the strike with her own supernatural abilities. The hunters coordinate their assault perfectly, shielding their vanguard while launching a relentless flurry of projectile attacks. Shitahara is absolutely relentless, striking at the vampire and taunting her to keep the pressure dialed all the way up. Alicia coldly demands that the fencer back off, clearly annoyed by his persistent and frantic assault. But Shitahara just lunges forward with that wild, manic grin, determined to finally land a hit on his elusive target. He unleashes a specialized combat skill, a lightning-fast quick slash designed to completely shatter her defenses. Kuga watches the dust finally settle, his eyes locking onto his opponent as this brutal battle reaches its absolute breaking point. Blade drawn and standing resolute, he steps right in front of the vampire, shielding her from the approaching party. Now, the vampire claims she doesn't need his help, but trust me, she's still keeping a very wary eye on the looming threat. She reminds him that it's finally time to stop holding back and show everyone what he's truly worth in battle. With just a subtle nod, she signals that they are ready to face this opposition head-on. They quickly divide the labor. Kuga steps forward to clash with the vanguard, while she prepares to handle the other three. Kuga locks in, his focus sharpening to a razor edge as he prepares to unleash his hidden strength. The hunter lunges with a manic vow to end the vampire, but Kuga intercepts him, leaving all their fates hanging by a thread as the chapter ends. Shitahara slams heavily into the ground, immediately mocking our hero for finally deciding to step into the fight. The arrogant fencer sneers, looking him dead in the eye and asking if he actually believes he can win this. See, Shitahara is an absolute beast at close-quarters combat, using his blistering speed to completely overwhelm anyone in his way. But here's the thing, the Job Rankings Institute labels our hero as just a generalist with zero mastery, calling his unique party-joining skill totally useless. Meanwhile, Shitahara boasts S-tier agility, making him an absolute nightmare for anyone forced to face him in a duel. Shitahara demands the hero prepare himself, desperate to assert his dominance and end this clash in a heartbeat. The fencer spits out a vicious insult, calling our hero a talentless loser as he lunges straight in for the kill. Suddenly, Shitahara activates his magic, chanting an acceleration spell to push his speed way beyond human limits. Their blades clash with a deafening ring as our hero barely manages to block that lethal strike in the nick of time. Shitahara laughs in disgust, asking how a legendary hero could stoop so low as to protect a monster. He keeps mocking him, claiming the hero was completely fooled by the superficial ranking of his own job. But he doesn't stop there. The fencer taunts him further, asking if he even realizes his own party abandoned him. Kuga looks back at his past, and, honestly, he knew he was the only thing keeping that team afloat. Just imagine it, without his guidance, you can bet his former party would have completely fallen apart. He watches them walk away, and it's a tough moment. That group really used to be his entire world. But then, something shifts in his eyes, and Kuga decides to ditch the past and dive headfirst into the chaos. Kuga lunges forward, unleashing a strike so powerful it literally tears through the battlefield. Natsu is just stunned, watching in pure disbelief as the hero shows off a level of power she never saw coming. Down goes Shitahara, and you can hear his companions screaming. They're absolutely terrified to see their leader taken down so easily. As the dust finally clears, Kuga and his partner stand tall over what's left of that enemy vanguard. It's eerily quiet now, with the two of them just standing there while the last of the dust settles around them. You can really feel the tension in the air. It's a heavy reminder of how brutal that fight just was. His companion breaks the silence, pointing out that the power Kuga just unleashed was honestly off the charts. She looks right at him and drops a heavy truth. He's officially crossed a line, and there's no going back now. Kuga doesn't even try to sugarcoat it. He knows she's right, and he's fully committed to this path. Think about it, there's a heavy, permanent weight to taking a life for the very first time that you just can't undo. Those magic circles lighting up the ground prove that, even if someone revives, that moment of death was still 100% real. See, the resurrection cycle only kicks in after they're gone, which means for a brief, critical second, they were truly dead. Kuga accepts it, he took those lives, and it doesn't matter if they eventually find their way back to the world or not. The fallout is immediate. Those monster slayers are hit with a permanent dungeon ban, and their future is looking pretty grim. Just like that, Kuga's actions have effectively shut the door on any future dungeon expeditions for them. Kuga doesn't even flinch, though. He's completely dismissive of the consequences while he and his partner stand amidst the ruins. She leans in close, asking him, how does it feel to take a human life for the very first time? Kuga just shrugs it off. He admits that ending a life felt exactly like his usual job of cutting down monsters. His companion is actually thrilled by that detached mindset, telling him to keep that cold, focused resolve as they push ahead. But wait, look at the jobstone. It's starting to glow, and that means his power level is about to shift. Kuga watches in total silence as a brand new job tree unlocks right before his eyes. His path to power is finally expanding. His partner walks over holding a document, and you can tell she's genuinely impressed by how fast he's leveling up. She confirms the news. He's officially cleared 2 of the major milestones he needs for his next big evolution. The list is clear. He's taken out enough invaders and crushed an A-rank party, leaving only the deadliest challenges left to go. Kuga realizes he completely forgot to explain these conditions to his live stream fans, but his partner is already jumping in to fill them in. Before he can say another word, a violent strike tears through the air. Talk about a sudden, dangerous ambush. They scramble to dodge the blow, their faces shifting from confusion to pure, defensive instinct in a heartbeat. As the dust settles, they realize how close that was, and Kuga is already holding his ground, weapon ready to strike back. Kuga looks up, totally bewildered by the sudden attack, frantically searching for whoever could be hiding in the shadows. The chat goes absolutely wild because Yulia, the Saintess of Kumazimi, has just landed, and trust me, she is a serious problem for Kuga. It all started 50 years ago, when mysterious dungeons suddenly tore into our world and changed human history forever. These deep, uncharted spaces weren't just empty, they were quickly swarmed by terrifying, powerful monsters. But here's the twist. Humans who ventured inside unlocked brand new job classes and supernatural abilities, tapping into powers they never dreamed of. Fast forward to today, and dungeon exploration has gone from a desperate fight for survival to a massive public spectacle. These days, dungeon crawling and live streaming are the absolute norm for every adventurer chasing fame and fortune online. That brings us to Kuga, a hero dismissed as just a jack-of-all-trades, who suddenly found himself kicked out by his own party. Picture this. Kuga is betrayed and left for dead, dumped into a secret boss chamber to face his end alone. But then, everything shifts when the stunning vampire girl, Alicia, suddenly appears out of thin air. You won't believe it, but Alicia is absolutely obsessed with the world of live streaming and online fame. With his back against the wall, Kuga decides to team up with her, launching a wild streaming series that targets unsuspecting adventurers. Suddenly, a massive weapon crashes down, just missing our duo as the ambush kicks off in real time. Then Yulia, the infamous Saintess of Kumazimi, descends into the room with a gaze that could freeze you solid. The chat is blowing up, and honestly, can you blame them? Everyone recognizes this legendary Saintess instantly. Alicia is visibly shaken by the surprise attack, and for the first time, she looks completely caught off guard. She tries to de-escalate, demanding to know why the stranger is attacking them so aggressively. Yulia isn't having any of it. She calls Alicia a thieving cat and accuses her of ruining everything they worked for. The viewers fill us in on the drama, confirming that Yulia was actually part of Kuga's old party. She cuts the chatter, making sure everyone gets her name, the Saintess of Kumazimi. Exactly right. Alicia looks completely lost, left trying to make sense of all the sudden, high-stakes drama. But then it clicks. Alicia realizes this is one of the very people who left Kuga to die. The tension in the air is suffocating as Yulia demands to know exactly what Kuga is planning next. Kuga freezes, hit with a flood of painful memories as he stares down his former comrade. He remembers that day all too well, the day his party cast him out while Yulia just stood there, silent as a grave. That cold, unreadable expression she had back then? It left him with no way to know where he stood with her. Yulia admits she's terrible with words, but you can feel her resolve hardening as her grip tightens on her weapon. She makes it crystal clear, if she can't say it with words, she's going to use force to settle the score. You won't believe how Alicia recoils as the Saintess lunges forward, moving with absolutely terrifying speed. The livestream is already going wild, with everyone instantly recognizing that legendary, muscle-brained strength. They are literally calling her a gorilla in the chat, and, honestly, you can't blame them for getting hyped up. Alicia is staring down this assault, and you have to wonder, can she actually survive a blow like that? Viewers aren't holding back now, confirming that the Saintess is definitely the real deal as she winds up for the strike. Just look at her go. She is spamming light magic at point-blank range without a single second of hesitation. It's no wonder her old party dubbed her Miss Gorilla. She's always had a blunt, hands-on approach to combat. Yulia triggers her holy night magic, and trust me, you can feel the impact as she cracks the earth beneath her feet. Alicia is bracing for the worst while Yulia closes that gap, ready to land a devastating, high-speed strike. The ground literally shatters when she lands, but just as the dust clears, the screen cuts to black, leaving us all hanging on Alicia's fate. Kuga isn't budging, even as his opponent unleashes a relentless flurry of magical strikes right at him. The pressure is mounting, and you can see Kuga struggling to hold his ground against such an intense assault. But wait, Yulia is actually starting to look overwhelmed, realizing even her massive power is hitting a wall. Suddenly, a blade whistles through the air, missing by a hair as the fight reaches its absolute breaking point. Yulia takes a direct hit, her defense is shattering as she is knocked back by the sheer force of the blow. She reaches out as if to freeze time, her face hardening with a look of pure defiance against what's coming next. She demands to know what Kuga is up to, her voice sharp with suspicion as she stares him down. Kuga doesn't even flinch. He just turns his back on his comrade to focus entirely on the girl who's hurt. He kneels down to cast a healing spell, acting like the battle around him isn't even a concern anymore. As his magic fades, a deathly silence falls over the battlefield, and honestly, I have no idea what they're going to do next. Picture the vampire girl, frozen in confusion as the tide of battle takes a sudden, wild turn. She calls out to Kuga, her voice shaky and uncertain. Can you believe he just completely changed his vibe like that? Kuga stays totally calm and looks at Yulia, ordering her to bail and get out of there right now. Yulia is absolutely stunned by the command, asking herself, is he seriously talking to me? But Kuga doesn't blink. He gives her a cold, unwavering look that tells her the argument is officially over. Yulia just can't let it go, insisting that she's not done fighting yet. Kuga hears her out, but trust me, he is completely unmoved by her need to keep brawling. He points out that neither of them has shown their full power yet, but honestly, he thinks this fight just doesn't matter anymore. Kuga shifts his entire focus, deciding that protecting the girl is way more important than winning this duel. Then he drops the bomb. He reveals his vampire form and warns her that he won't let anyone threaten Alicia again. Kuga stands in the middle of the wreckage, watching as the vampire girl tries to process this sudden shift. He looks totally confused as she breaks down, standing there like he has no clue how to handle a total emotional meltdown. Her composure just shatters, and she starts sobbing, calling him a complete fool right to his face. She's screaming at the top of her lungs, and that wail of pure despair echoes across the entire battlefield. Kuga is blindsided by the public shaming, realizing with a sinking feeling that everyone watching the stream is seeing him make her cry. He turns away, wondering if he's really the bad guy here, and honestly, what was that strange name she just called him? Finally, she pulls herself together, looking up with teary eyes to offer him a soft, hesitant thank you. They head toward the gates of the silent castle, but keep your eyes peeled, because something chilling is definitely stirring in the shadows. Alicia is suddenly all fired up, demanding they find some minions to beef up their forces right this second. Kuga just stares at her, completely caught off guard by her sudden change of heart. Kuga starts thinking back to that wild fight with Yulia, and honestly, you have to wonder, why on earth did she show up to challenge them all by herself? But Kuga doesn't want to get bogged down in the mystery, so he fires off a quick message just to make sure she made it back in one piece. Now he's just glued to his screen, waiting for that reply and trying to shake off that weird, lingering tension in the air. Suddenly, his phone pings, and there it is, just a single word from Yulia, letting him know she's safe and sound. With that cleared up, Kuga shifts his focus back to the real challenge, Alicia's wild scheme to climb the ranks and become an SS rank boss. Alicia is totally locked in, reminding him that if they really want to level up, they've got to start recruiting some minions. The requirements are laid out plain as day, and trust me, getting those minions is the absolute top priority right now. Kuga is on board with the plan, sure, but he can't help feeling a little uneasy about the massive obstacles waiting for them. He's staring at the requirements again, feeling a bit overwhelmed by just how complicated this whole SS rank process actually is. As he scans through the checklist, he starts to wonder if they'll really have to take down specific targets to trigger their evolution. Alicia jumps in with so much excitement, confirming that he's hit the nail on the head. They are definitely on the right track. Kuga takes a second to pause, really trying to wrap his head around just how ambitious this plan of hers is. He throws out an idea. Does she want to recruit that minotaur they ran into before? Alicia shuts that down in a heartbeat, making it crystal clear that the Minotaur is strictly off limits because he's her friend. Kuga just shrugs it off and accepts her choice, though he realizes they're going to have to get creative to fill out their roster. He looks over the list of candidates one more time, fully realizing that their Minotaur buddy isn't going to be part of the crew. Think about this. There were originally 8 bosses, all revolving around a single Jackie at the very center of it all. It's a brutal cycle. Every time a boss gets taken down, the threat level just resets, keeping that total number of bosses stuck at 8. It's an endless, high-stakes game of musical chairs where 8 powerful entities are constantly fighting for control. Alicia maps it all out for him, confirming the one thing he was dreading. If they want that power, they have to take down an existing S-rank boss. For Kuga, who's only ever lived that A-rank life, you can imagine how daunting this new level of ambition feels. Kuga changes gears and asks Alicia the million-dollar question: how do you actually get a minion to join your side? Alicia explains that it's all about the minion's own free will. They have to choose their master. But here's the catch: they have to be completely ready to bow down and accept Kuga's authority. Kuga leans in as Alicia drops a hint that she's got a much more unique way of handling recruitment. Naturally, Kuga wonders if she's talking about something as brutal as draining a target's blood. She confirms it, but trust me, she definitely tries to avoid that messy process whenever she can. Kuga can't help but tease her about the sudden conscience, but she shuts that down immediately. Alicia is just picky, you see. She only goes for the blood she actually finds delicious. Kuga thinks back on their fights, left wondering what exactly is going on with her strange feeding habits. The truth is, she's been skipping the sipping and just absorbing life force through her tentacles instead. It's pretty obvious now that Alicia has developed a very specific, lingering craving for Kuga's blood. Kuga has to wonder, is his O-type blood the real secret behind her fixation? He tries to recall some trivia about insects loving O-type blood, but let's be honest, he's clearly a bit confused. He's totally mixing up his facts. He's applying mosquito science to his own situation. Kuga steers us back to the mission, asking for their next target, and Alicia just gives him this cryptic little smirk. With a bright, confident grin, Alicia lets him know she's already made her final choice. As the sun dips below the horizon, a dangerous new path is set, but who's going to be their first victim? You have to picture this Japanese dungeon divided into sections, plunging all the way down to the 32nd floor. The upper layers are a different beast entirely, stretching from the earth straight up toward the sky. On the flip side, the lower levels dive deep into the earth, stretching further into the underground. Now, you might think they differ, but trust me, the difficulty level is exactly the same whether you're heading up or down. Think about it, the 15th floor up or down, it really doesn't matter. They're both going to push you to your limits. It's this weird, mirrored symmetry that earned the place the nickname, the double-headed dungeon. And get this, the size actually changes based on the location, with the higher floors growing noticeably larger. Every 10th level acts as a safe zone, no monsters here, which is perfect for adventurers to set up camp and catch their breath. Floors like the 10th and 20th are absolutely massive, hiding entire cities right inside the dungeon walls. These secret towns are thriving, but you have to wonder, what kind of terrors are lurking on the floors beneath them? Alicia drops a bombshell, revealing that her secret sanctuary is tucked away deep on the 43rd underground floor. But here's the catch, she explains that the room has stayed completely sealed since she's been away. She goes on to explain that terrifying S-rank bosses are standing guard on both the 45th upper and lower floors. Now, the 49th floor is a whole different story, serving a much more critical and unique role in the dungeon's layout. It splits into 6 distinct sections, 3 above and 3 below, each one home to a lethal guardian waiting for a fight. We're talking about 6 elite SS-rank bosses holding these sectors, each one ruling their own deadly little corner. But imagine what happens when one of those bosses is taken down by a human. The whole hierarchy gets thrown into chaos. And here is the scary part, there's no system to replace them, so that seat stays empty for good. Kuga stops for a second to ask where they're headed, his footsteps ringing out through the chilly, stone hallway. Finally, they hit floor B32, a bleak, jagged landscape that just seems to vanish into the pitch-black darkness. If you know your dungeon layouts, you'll recognize this spot instantly. It's infamous for being swarming with kobolds. Alicia just gives a bright smile and confirms it. They've reached their target, and it's time to raid that kobold colony. Alicia lays out the plan for Kuga, making it clear she wants to wipe out the colony and turn the survivors into their own personal minions. She is buzzing with excitement, reminding Kuga that their main goal is to take out every last kobold in one decisive strike. They pause in the corridor as Alicia puts the finishing touches on their strategy to claim the entire colony for themselves. Suddenly, something catches Alicia's eye, and she stops dead in her tracks to give Kuga a really curious look. She points toward a lone woman standing in the distance, who seems completely oblivious to the fact that they are even there. Alicia glances over at Kuga and wonders aloud if he's planning to hunt this woman down as their next target. Kuga takes a moment to really think it over, noting that his decision depends entirely on who this mystery person is. He explains that he draws the line at hunting people who show no hostility, so for now, he's leaving her fade up in the air. They both watch her from afar, trying to figure out if she's actually a threat or just someone in the wrong place at the wrong time. Alicia mentions that it is getting super rare to run into explorers who don't have a hostile bone in their body toward monsters. Kuga agrees, adding that it's just as rare to find monsters that don't hold a deep-seated grudge against humans. Something feels off to Kuga, and he notes how strange it is to see a woman standing completely alone in such a dangerous part of the dungeon. He spots another red flag, pointing out that she isn't even carrying a standard streaming drone to document her journey. Kuga explains that while solo adventurers are out there, they're incredibly rare, even for the most talented people. He warns that wandering alone is a recipe for disaster, and honestly, look at how much Yulia struggled just recently. Alicia notices the woman looks totally distracted, acting like she doesn't have a single goal in mind. The mysterious girl stares down at her gear, looking completely lost and unsure of what to do next. Then, she does something truly shocking. She disables her auto-revive function, leaving her life completely on the line. Kuga and Alicia watch in total confusion, honestly pretty unsettled by how reckless and strange she's acting. Kuga clocks her detached vibe and comes to a chilling conclusion. She isn't just lost, she's trying to end her own life. Alicia clocks that if this girl can actually toggle her own revival, she's gotta be a rare reviver class, so Kuga urges caution. They can't afford to lose such a precious asset. Turns out, being a reviver is the only way to wield that life-saving auto-revive magic. Kuga and Alicia watch in total disbelief as she just goes ahead and disables her own safety net. Kuga points out the obvious. Only a reviver has the skill to flip that safety switch off. See, standard dungeon rules mean every explorer has to hit a checkpoint before they even step inside. Before they head in, adventurers have to drop a massive fee to insurance companies just to secure a revival. Those companies hire high-end revivers to slap that essential protection spell on every single client. It's their golden ticket, a guaranteed resurrection that lets explorers dive into danger without a second thought. The checkpoint staff strictly verifies that spell is active before they even dream of letting you through. But here's the kicker. Since only a reviver can turn that spell off, this girl's behavior is seriously off the charts. Considering this rare class is usually locked away in insurance firms, seeing one out here is beyond bizarre. The mysterious girl just takes it all in, looking strangely unfazed by the gravity of what she's doing. Alicia immediately pivots to Kuga, insisting they need to move fast and lock this girl down for themselves. You can see it in Alicia's eyes. She's already decided that such a rare, valuable class belongs under her thumb. Suddenly, the girl makes a break for it, leaving the nearby adventurers scrambling while Kuga just stands there, totally bewildered. The online crowd is buzzing, absolutely floored by how ruthless and decisive the vampire is being. The chat is blowing up with warnings, reminding everyone that in this dungeon, you've gotta strike the moment opportunity knocks. As the girl scrambles away, Alicia is already on the hunt, closing the gap with a predator's stride. Alicia reaches out, commanding her to halt as she narrows the distance between them. But then, out of nowhere, dark tendrils burst from the earth to snag the girl and hoist her right into the air. Alicia barely dodges that stray magic, while Kuga is shouting in alarm. Things are officially spiraling out of control. Just look at that gaze. The vampire is locked onto her prey, and trust me, she is absolutely hungry for the hunt. Kuga is watching in total confusion, and honestly, you have to wonder if he's dealing with a wild beast right now. The online audience is completely losing it, flooding the chat because they have no idea why the broadcast just hit the brakes. And just like that, the stream cuts to black. The connection is severed right in front of our eyes. The poor captive is screaming in pure terror, practically begging for the blade at her throat to just end it all. She's pleading for a quick way out, her composure completely shattered by the nightmare standing right in front of her. But catch the look on the vampire's face. She just scoffs, totally unimpressed by the girl's desperate plea for death. She's actually questioning why the girl is in such a rush to kick the bucket. It's like she couldn't care less. Then, with that chilling smile, the vampire suggests they indulge in some pleasure before the end finally comes. Can you blame the girl for being stunned? She's left trembling, barely able to process such a dark proposition. The vampire catches her totally off guard with a bizarre question. Does she have any love for dogs? Trembling and clearly shaken, the girl lowers her guard just enough to admit that she's actually quite fond of them. Alicia looks satisfied with that answer, and before you know it, she's grabbing the girl's hand to drag her away. She announces they're heading to dog paradise, leaving poor Kuga and the stunned girl completely in the dust. The feed flickers back to life, and we finally get an introduction. The girl says her name is Kushina. Alicia pivots right to her, bluntly asking if she has any clue who she's even dealing with right now. Kushina looks totally lost, admitting she has no idea who they are or why she's even found herself in this spot. She even guesses they might be famous streamers, but honestly, the pair couldn't be less impressed by that. Alicia just brushes off the girl's ignorance, telling her point blank that it really doesn't matter if she knows them or not. The chat is absolutely blowing up with fans, but honestly, Alicia couldn't care less about her own viral fame. Alicia just laughs off the hype, even though the viewers are screaming that she is the biggest thing on the internet right now. Poor Kushina is standing there totally dazed, not realizing she is completely cut off from the voices of the digital audience. Alicia decides to skip the drama and tells the group it is time to head straight for the dog's paradise. You can see Kushina freeze up, absolutely terrified by such a cryptic destination she has never even heard of. Alicia just smiles at Kuga and the others, telling them to hold their horses because they will understand soon enough. The group finally hits the first spot, where a few dogs are hanging out right by the entrance of a dark cave. Alicia looks around, but let's be real, she is clearly thinking this place is a little bit questionable. They decide to move on to the second property, which is tucked away in some ruins and guarded by 2 more dogs. Then a third one pops up, and it's got this massive, grand castle looming right behind a pair of waiting dogs. Alicia checks out the view, but she just can't shake the feeling that it is almost perfect, but not quite there yet. Finally, they make it to the 4th location, where 2 dogs are standing watch in front of a mysterious temple. Alicia scans the area and turns to the group, asking them if this place finally hits the mark. She pivots to Kuga to get his take, suggesting that this spot actually has a pretty great vibe. Kuga agrees that the area is surprisingly calming, but Alicia is already deep in thought, weighing her next move. Alicia makes the call to commit to the spot, urging everyone to keep pushing forward. Kushina is still totally lost, trying to wrap her head around these bizarre surroundings and the strange creatures they've found. She looks out at the settlement in pure awe, wondering if they've actually stumbled upon a secret kobold colony. The group realizes they aren't alone, as they spot the locals standing guard and fully armed. Alicia isn't even breaking a sweat, though. She just brushes off the danger like it is no big deal at all. The crew finally clocks where they are, and trust me, you won't believe it, they've stumbled upon the legendary dog paradise. Alicia beams at everyone, confirming they've made it and promising that playtime with the local kobolds is officially on. But watch out, because a stoic kobold guard isn't having it. He stands his ground and lets out a sharp, warning bark. They head toward the mansion's grand entrance, feeling the heavy gaze of the armored kobold sentries tracking their every move. As they poke around, they notice something wild. The kobolds actually look different depending on which colony they call home. The group is honestly confused. Why on earth did Alicia pick a Japanese-style settlement for this mission? You'll never guess it, but these local kobolds look exactly like adorable Shiba Inus. I mean, seriously, the fluffiness of their cheeks is almost too much to handle, right? Kushina is absolutely smitten the moment she sees them, and honestly, who could blame her? Even Kushina, who was totally over this trip a second ago, can't help but get swept up in the excitement. Suddenly, a Shiba Inu snaps off a sharp bark, making it crystal clear they want the party's full attention. Kushina lunges in to get a pet, but hold on, a kobold is already jumping forward to intercept her. Things go south in a heartbeat as a kobold suddenly lashes out and strikes at Kuga. Kuga is left totally baffled by the aggression, just as those razor-sharp teeth snap shut inches from him. The others scream a warning that these cuties are actually fierce, leaving Kuga staring down a lethal threat. Alicia drops a pro tip. Turns out, stroking a kobold's throat is the secret trick to calming them down in an instant. But before anyone can celebrate, Alicia warns them that same throat is actually their biggest weak spot. Kushina mumbles an apology, and for a second, the whole party is frozen between their curiosity and the danger at the gate. They're hesitating, but Alicia is already pushing forward, ready to dive right into the heart of the settlement. Suddenly, blood starts to drip as Kuga takes a vicious bite, his face shifting from pure confusion to absolute shock. Kuga tries to play it cool, brushing off the injury like it's absolutely nothing to worry about. But Kushina isn't having any of it. She shuts him down, insisting he can't just ignore a wound like that. She rushes over to help, clearly determined to patch him up before things take a turn for the worse. Watch this, a glowing seal flares up as she chants, and in an instant, that nasty gash on his arm just vanishes. Kuga is genuinely taken aback, noting that her magic feels surprisingly warmer than anything he's ever used. Kushina is just as shocked as he is, admitting with a shy laugh that this is actually her first time healing anyone. She explains that she's usually relied on her auto-revival ability to pull her through the tough spots. With a gentle smile, she tells him he's good as new, and honestly, you can see the relief in his eyes. Kuga thanks her, but she's quick to turn it around, insisting she's the one who should be grateful. For a heartbeat, the air clears and they share a quiet moment, letting that post-battle tension finally melt away. Kushina flushes a deep red, nervously checking in on him and wondering if it's finally time to move on. Kuga gives her a confident nod, letting her know he's back at 100% and ready to roll. Suddenly, Alicia shouts from the distance, impatient and demanding to know why they're still lagging behind. She's clearly annoyed by the pace, so the pair rushes to catch up before she loses her cool entirely. But nothing could prepare them for this. Alicia has somehow managed to tame every single kobold in the area. Kuga and Kushina are left absolutely speechless, completely floored by the vampire's insane speed. Even the chat is going wild, with viewers complaining that Alicia is moving way too fast for them to keep up. Kuga tries to apologize for the holdup, while the audience is busy grumbling that the stream just turned into a medical drama. They stand there staring at the dark, imposing mansion, ready to step into the mystery together. And just look at Kushina, beaming as she pets a friendly kobold, leaving the others totally stunned by her unexpected success. Kuga hits the pause button on the stream, turning to Kushina with a look so serious, you just know something big is coming. He doesn't waste a second, asking her point-blank why she'd ever choose to give up her revival ability. Can you imagine walking away from that power? But get this, she turns away and gives him this cryptic answer about her healer status, and honestly, it's got me wondering what she's really hiding. She starts walking ahead, whispering to herself about why she ever thought picking such a safe path was a good idea. Kuga just watches her, and you can see the confusion written all over his face as he tries to piece together what's going on in her head. Turns out, she joined the insurance program looking for an easy life, hoping to dodge all that high-stakes pressure and endless overtime. Sure, the bonuses sounded great at first, but trust me, the reality of her job turned out to be way more intense than she ever signed up for. She tells him that her dream of stability totally backfired, trapping her in this brutal, non-stop cycle of dying and reviving. It's honestly heartbreaking. She recounts how just yesterday, she was forced to endure so much trauma, all just to keep moving forward. Even with a break today, she knows it's only a matter of time before that cycle drags her right back into the grind tomorrow. Kushina sighs, saying her whole life has just become one big revival loop, and I think Kuga is just as stunned by that weight as we are. She admits that while living for others is a noble thing, carrying that burden day in and day out is just plain exhausting. Suddenly, she catches herself and starts to panic, quickly clarifying that she never actually meant she wanted to end her own life. She fumbles with her uniform, trying to brush it off by saying she was just in a weird, restless mood. Finally, she confesses to Kuga that deep down, she was just craving a little bit of a thrill to feel something real. Kuga just stares back at her, and in that silence, you can tell he really gets exactly what she's going through. Think about it, automatic resurrection magic changed everything. Death just isn't the final curtain call it used to be. Because of that, the risks of dungeon crawling basically vanished, and people started diving into ruins without any fear of losing it all. Dungeon exploration turned into the ultimate spectator sport, broadcast everywhere for the masses to binge-watch. But Kushina makes a chilling point. That kind of safety comes with a catch, and it's starting to feel like the resurrectionist life is carrying a heavy, dark curse. Sure, the pay is great and some folks thrive on it, but let's be honest, does the daily grind actually have any meaning? Suddenly, a mysterious stranger steps out of the shadows, dead set on proving that this life isn't everything it's cracked up to be. She locks eyes with a totally stunned Kushina and drops a bombshell offer to become her master, right then and there. Can you imagine how confused Kushina is? She's literally stammering, trying to wrap her head around being called a minion. The stranger doesn't even blink, though. She calmly suggests that Kushina has no idea who or what she really is. Then, with this chilling little smile, she turns to Alicia and calls her a monster, leaving the entire room in absolute shock. You can see the horror dawning on Kushina's face as the weight of that accusation finally starts to sink in. Kuga tries to jump in and defend them, but he's just as lost, struggling to make sense of this crazy situation. He stands his ground, confirms he's human, and demands to know who this stranger actually is. The gravity of the moment hits Kushina like a ton of bricks, and she just goes blank, completely frozen in her tracks. Trembling, she finally finds the strength to say no. She just can't bring herself to walk such a dark and twisted path. The rest of the group is just standing there, totally bewildered, wondering why on earth she'd walk away from an offer like that. Kushina tries to explain, but she's clearly terrified, insisting that becoming a monster servant is a line she just won't cross. She tries to brush it off by saying her mother would never approve, but the silence that follows feels like it could change everything. The stranger just watches the drama unfold, her expression completely unreadable as she weighs their reaction. Kuga keeps his cool and hides what he's really thinking, even though he knows this whole situation is incredibly reckless. One of the girls can't even hide her disbelief, wondering who would be crazy enough to invite that kind of danger into their lives. They all agree that Kushina is one of a kind, but you can feel that heavy, lingering tension in the air. But then the stranger shifts her focus back to Kuga, and it's pretty clear she's decided to make him her next target. The group stands frozen in silence, while the stranger just waits, cool as a cucumber, for someone to break the tension. The stranger drops a hint that she's ready to step out of the shadows and stop holding back. Then, the demon girl turns up the pressure, demanding to know why they won't just sign up to be her minions. Kushina flat out refuses, insisting her mother would never let her walk such a dark path. The stranger just gives them an eerie final smile, and trust me, you can feel the dread of what's coming next. Now, Alicia has managed to bend the kobolds to her will, turning them into her own little minions. But here's the thing, Kushina is proving to be a much tougher nut to crack for her dark influence. With the third floor finally cleared of kobolds, Alicia and Kuga start making their way back to town. Since they have to enter and exit from the exact same spot, you can imagine what a trek it is every single time. Out of nowhere, Alicia magically pulls out some fresh fruit and offers a snack to her companion. Kuga reaches out, but he's actually trying to pay her back to settle his debt. Alicia waves it off entirely, insisting it's really no big deal at all. Kuga decides to come clean, explaining that his recent streaming sessions are actually pulling in a steady income. Alicia is totally lost on the terminology at first, until Kuga clears it up by just calling it money. The realization hits her hard, and honestly, his bluntness leaves her completely speechless. Kuga breaks it down for her, explaining that on his platform, more viewers basically equal more profit. He admits that his success is really all thanks to her, since she's the one drawing in the audience he needs. Alicia stares at him, wide-eyed, as Kuga offers to use his earnings to handle their expenses. She hesitates, and you can see her face flush as she awkwardly agrees to let him help. Kuga doesn't stop there. He presses her on her finances, asking if she even has a way to access digital currency. He explains the reality of it. Without cash, she'd have to trek all the way to a human town just to make a withdrawal. Can you blame Alicia for being lost? These modern terms are totally foreign to her, and she has no clue how to access her own cash. She lets out a frustrated sigh, honestly admitting she's completely stumped by how to retrieve money from these confusing systems. Kuga keeps his face totally blank, acting like he's just casually curious instead of genuinely worried about her. He quickly shifts gears back to his daily income, insisting that she break down exactly how his earnings work. Watch this. Kuga holds up a single banknote, showing her the exact way he handles his finances every day. Here is the kicker. He reveals that 5 of these bills literally just pop into his pocket every single morning. Alicia is staring in pure shock, and honestly, who could blame her? It is impossible to wrap your head around money appearing out of thin air. Kuga starts crunching the numbers for us, confirming that this daily little miracle adds up to exactly 5,000 yen. He mentions that sooner or later, they're going to have to make a trip to a human town to actually manage this money. Just as they're deep in conversation, the shopkeeper jumps in, kindly offering to help the pair out. Kuga tries to pay for everything right then and there, but the shopkeeper stops him, letting him know he's got the wrong idea entirely. You won't believe this, but the shopkeeper mentions he takes digital payments, leaving both Kuga and Alicia completely stunned. The two of them just freeze, caught in total silence as the reality hits them. Modern technology has somehow tracked them down. Alicia watches in disbelief as Kuga shows off his weird talent for manifesting digital payments out of absolutely nowhere. She is genuinely amazed, staring at his tech like it's some kind of high-level magic. Kuga keeps his expression totally deadpan, though you have to wonder if he's getting nervous about his secret slipping. He tells her his body burns through energy so fast that he actually needs to load up on extra iron just to keep going. Alicia just stops cold, looking totally bewildered by his bizarre nutritional needs. She takes a moment to process his weird explanation, but eventually, she decides to just roll with it. Before you know it, the table is piled high with a massive feast, and it's clearly all meant to satisfy Kuga's strange, insatiable hunger. Just look at Alicia. She is completely floored, watching Kuga polish off that mountain of food like it is nothing. Trying to pivot, Alicia finally asks Kuga what exactly was going on with those local kobolds earlier. Kuga spills the beans. He actually gave them a special ring so they can reach out whenever they need a hand. Think about that bond for a second. Alicia starts to wonder, is this some kind of literal summoning ritual? Kuga confirms it, explaining that the ring acts like a direct line for the kobolds to call him in whenever they're in trouble. Can you blame her for being stunned? The thought of him being on call at a moment's notice is a lot to take in. Kuga notices her staring and cheekily teases her, wondering if she is the one actually falling for the kobold's charm. Alicia doesn't say a word, keeping her poker face tight as she tries to wrap her head around this whole weird situation. She quickly snaps back, flat out refusing the idea that she has been charmed by their cuteness or turned into some kind of minion. Kuga actually pauses here, looking pretty confused by her sudden intensity. He's realizing he might have totally misread her. She admits the kobolds are undeniably fluffy, but trust me, she insists that is definitely not the whole story. She tells him there is way more to this than he thinks, and as she keeps walking, Kuga has no choice but to follow her lead. She points right at that ring, hinting that there is a deeper power at play here just waiting for us to uncover it. Suddenly, the magic circle flares up, and Kuga realizes in a flash that the ring doesn't just call him, it can summon the kobolds, too. Out of nowhere, this massive kobold pops up right in front of them, drops to its knees, and lets out a sharp, obedient bark. Alicia turns bright red, apologizing for the chaos while admitting she just wanted to see if the summoning actually worked. The three of them just stand there in the awkward silence, and the creature just gives them a confused, questioning bark. Kuga watches him closely, noting that even though the guy can't talk, he clearly understands every command. Alicia chimes in to explain that this isn't just any kobold. He is actually the big boss of the entire colony. But when Kuga asks for his name, Alicia totally fumbles, clearly scrambling to come up with something on the spot. She eventually lands on the name Kobold, though judging by the kobold's blank stare, he's definitely not a fan. Kuga just gives her this look, and honestly, can you blame him? He knows she totally made that up on the spot. Alicia waves the creature off, telling him his shift is over and he's free to head back home. With one last sharp, intimidating bark, the giant kobold disappears right back into that glowing portal. As the light fades, Kuga and Alicia keep pushing forward, trekking deeper through the silent ruins. Kuga can't help but think about that fight. Being able to summon back up like that is a total game changer, right? Alicia nods, but here's the catch, there's a cooldown, so she can't just spam these summons back to back. Kuga gets it immediately. Their power has limits, and they definitely can't just abuse it whenever they want. Alicia smirks, hinting that these kobolds are actually meant for something much bigger than just brawling. She keeps playing coy, insisting that these little guys have a secret role we haven't even seen yet. Kuga watches her closely, and let me tell you, that smug look on her face says she's hiding something big. He knows something's up, but for now, the real purpose of their mission is still buried in the shadows. With that mystery hanging in the air, the two of them head back to the safety of Alicia's place. Alicia practically bounces over to Kuga, clearly way too excited to just sit in silence. She starts grilling him about streaming, wondering if it's a common thing for everyone else to do. Kuga tells her it's standard stuff, having no idea where she's actually trying to go with this. Alicia gets a little flustered, finally admitting she's been dying to check out what other people are streaming. Then she drops the big question, can they watch some together? Poor Kuga is left completely stunned. She's not waiting around, so she insists they start right now, and Kuga, being the nice guy, agrees. They get settled in to scroll through the platform, and Alicia reaches out to start their search. Suddenly, a live stream from the Kumazimi channel pops up, showing a group trekking deep into the wilds. But then, they both freeze in their tracks. Trust me, those faces on the screen are way too familiar. Alicia's eyes go wide, and she's absolutely stunned as she realizes exactly who she's looking at. She points right at the screen and asks Kuga point-blank if that's the party that betrayed him. Kuga just nods, his face darkening with a heavy, troubled look as he confirms it's them. It's been a while, but for the first time since their messy breakup, Kuga is actually watching his old group again. He keeps his eyes glued to their progress, noticing something is seriously off about how they act now. There's a mysterious new face among them, and, honestly, the way it moves is just plain unnatural. Kuga stares at the feed, his head spinning as he tries to make sense of what's unfolding in front of him. Alicia can't help but ask if those are really his old teammates, because they're definitely acting a bit strange. Kuga just blinks out, honestly struggling to reconcile these hollow versions with the people he once knew. Alicia leans in closer, and you can see it in her eyes. She realizes they look completely empty and lifeless. The camera proves her right, showing his former comrades moving in an eerie, mechanical unison that's just chilling. Then, things get chaotic and a skeletal warrior strikes with a blur of motion that's way too precise. The skeleton swings its heavy blade, and it's terrifying to see it target people who seem to have lost all their will. Sarah, the sword saint, lets out a sharp hiss of frustration as the whole battlefield turns against them. They're forced onto the defensive now, their movements looking jagged and disconnected as they struggle to keep it together. Sarah lunges into the heat of the fight, but because her allies are acting like machines, every move becomes a desperate gamble. The camera pans out to show the real problem. A pair of A-rank twin skeletons are completely dominating the area. Yulia is clearly reaching her limit, snapping at Xiaon while she gears up to hold the entire front line by herself. Xiaon shuts her down cold, and trust me, he makes it clear that her aggressive approach is a total death sentence here. He reminds the group that the healer is their lifeline, but listen to his tone, he's clearly ready to sacrifice it all. Suddenly, a massive blade slices through the air, and you can practically feel the agony as it tears through the front line. Panic sets in when the healer sees the wound. He's desperately casting recovery spells, but even he admits things look grim. The audience is losing their minds over Xiaon's performance, especially since he's linked to the legendary Legend Party. But check this out. A dark, pulsing shadow is emerging from the wound, meaning that healing spell didn't fix a thing. Meanwhile, some impatient viewer is already bored with the slow pace of the fight. Can you believe that? A holy knight charges into the chaos, slamming directly into the undead forces holding the line. That strike is massive, it sends debris flying and forces the entire defensive front to scramble for cover. The skeleton isn't holding back either. It's winding up for another hit with absolutely zero mercy. But look at the healer, he's staying calm, insisting they've still got this under control despite the nightmare unfolding. Yulia screams out a warning, because the battle is shifting fast and they are dangerously exposed. Alicia knows they're in trouble, so she turns to Mikari, the enchantment mage, looking for a way out. The team scrambles across the wasteland, desperately trying to regroup before their defense completely crumbles. The healer shouts that their enchantments are dying out, and he's pushing them to refresh the buffs right now. Mikari tries to prioritize Sarah, but Xiaon shuts that down instantly, calling her plan a massive tactical error. The whole world is watching them, and let me tell you, their internal drama is on full display for everyone to see. The comments section is wild. Some are obsessed with Xiaon's icy composure, while others are dragging the team for having no real strategy. Xiaon tries to get everyone to chill, begging them not to bicker while the cameras are rolling. He keeps insisting that if they just focus on leveling up, everything is going to be just fine. The feed is spiraling into a total war zone, with everyone debating whether Xiaon is a leader or just a total disaster. You can practically feel the heat rising as the party members trade icy glares, finally cracking under all that public pressure. But check this out, the observer watching the broadcast notices the Saintess is looking way weaker than their last showdown. Kuga and his partner are glued to the screen, totally blindsided by this reveal about the Saintess's true strength. Getting curious, his companion wonders if there's any way for them to jump into the comments and join the fray. Kuga gives the green light, opening up a whole new channel for them to stir the pot in this ongoing drama. She can't help herself, she's feeling the urge to send some major encouragement to the party through the live chat. Kuga just watches, honestly baffled why she's so pumped to dive headfirst into this live stream chaos. He breaks down her options, telling her she can drop a voice message or just type out a quick text for the world to see. She doesn't waste a second, tapping away at the interface with a look of pure determination on her face. And there it is, a fresh comment pops up on the public feed, and it's broadcasting her identity to everyone watching. Wait, Kuga suddenly realizes his massive blunder. He accidentally posted under his own name, outing himself to the entire world. You can see the pure horror wash over him as he freezes, staring at the screen in total disbelief at what he just did. Now the whole continent is in shock as his name flashes across the feed. The secret is officially out, and things are about to get real messy. Mino finally lets out a massive sigh of relief, feeling like she can finally breathe now that she's heading back to the safety of home. She tells the group she's been feeling a dark presence stalking her every move for days, and trust me, that is beyond creepy. It got so terrifying today that she had to ditch everything and bolt for the most crowded streets she could find. Shaun hits her with the obvious question, asking why she didn't just swing her massive axe and handle that stalker head-on. The viewers are totally on Mino's side now, calling out the stalker for being a coward and demanding someone bring them to justice. The group finally makes it back to Mino's place, letting out a breath as they lock themselves safely behind their own walls. And get this, Mino's house is actually huge. It makes Alicia's temporary living quarters look tiny by comparison. Finally safe, Mino lets out a huge sigh of relief that they managed to dodge that danger so quickly. But wait, she suddenly realizes she completely forgot about her plants and grabs the watering can before it's too late. She's so careful with every drop, because honestly, if she misses even one day, these precious veggies are going to wilt right before our eyes. The viewers are absolutely losing it, asking why on earth anyone would label the sweet Mino-chan an S-rank boss. They're even insisting that there is just no way they could ever bring themselves to take down such a charming, gentle soul. The chat is blowing up with support, with everyone promising to stick by her side no matter what comes next. Watching the screen, you can see Mino is genuinely touched by all the kindness and concern the viewers are showing her. She gives the camera a bright, beaming smile, telling them that they're finally starting to see things through her eyes. But hold on, a dark, oppressive aura flares up out of nowhere, and the group freezes, sensing something seriously threatening is nearby. Mino is actually trembling, struggling to get the words out, but she's certain this presence is way more powerful than anything they've faced before. Kuga quickly suggests they sweep the garden, hoping to track down the source of that crazy power before it decides to make a move. They bolt toward the perimeter, with Kuga shouting at a terrified Mino to stay glued to them if she wants to stay safe. They stop dead, and suddenly a massive, monstrous werewolf appears, proving that the viewers' worst fears about this S-rank boss were right on the money. As the list of S-rank bosses pops up, it's confirmed that this werewolf is a major new threat we need to worry about. Mino stands her ground, though, and boldly challenges the towering beast to explain why he suddenly crashed the party. She demands to know exactly what this creature wants from her, and I honestly can't blame her for being suspicious. The werewolf tries to play it cool, claiming he was just keeping watch over the Minotaur to make sure she was safe. Mino looks up at him, and you can tell she isn't buying his sudden act of concern for a single second. Then he drops the act, growling that only he is worthy of protecting her, and his true, dark intentions start to bubble to the surface. Mino is cowering in total terror as the massive werewolf looms over her, and his suffocating presence is already taking over the garden. That werewolf just brushes off her fear with a creepy grin, telling her that playing hard to get only makes her cuter. Can you believe this guy? The chat is absolutely losing it, flooding the screen with warnings that this stalker is bad news, and she needs to get out of there right now. Mino is shaking, pinned by his intense stare, just trying to wrap her head around why he's so obsessed with her. He starts mocking her, asking why on earth she'd ever want to hang out with humans. The condescension is just dripping off every word. He claims that mixing with humans will ruin her S-rank boss status and taint her beauty, and honestly, Mino is so paralyzed she can't even speak. Finally, she hits her breaking point and snaps, ordering the monster to stop talking trash about her friends. Kuga and the others are watching with bated breath, eyes glued to Mino as she stands up to that encroaching shadow. The werewolf just closes his eyes, offering this sickeningly sweet promise that everything is going to be just fine for her. But watch out, because his twisted true colors are showing, and the tension spikes as he takes another step toward his prey. He's convinced Mino is just too gentle for her own good, insisting that her allies must have brainwashed her into thinking otherwise. He drags on about their first meeting at a flower shop, rambling about how pure and radiant she is while the viewers just cringe at the screen. The whole group is forced to sit through his unsolicited life story, listening to him obsess over her every detail. Thankfully, after that endless rant, the creature finally decides he's said enough for the moment. He tells them he's backing off for today, but trust me, he makes it crystal clear that he and Mino aren't done yet. Mino fires right back, telling the monster that he's the one who needs to disappear for good. Chad is totally on her side, mocking his pathetic behavior as his shadow begins to fade away. The werewolf stands right in the middle of a glowing magic circle, getting ready to vanish from their sight. Mino turns to Kuga with such a serious look, and you can tell she's already plotting their next big move. She looks Kuga in the eye and reveals she's made a final decision, leaving us all hanging on her every word. Then she drops the ultimate bombshell. They're not just going to beat him, they're going to turn that arrogant werewolf into her personal minion. Kuga is absolutely horrified, internally screaming at how ridiculous this plan sounds, and, honestly, who can blame him when his entire future is resting on her next move? You have to love the vampire lady's bold energy as she charges toward the castle. She really doesn't waste a single second. Kuga follows close behind, probably wondering how on earth they're actually going to pull off an ambush against a werewolf today. Just imagine the pressure, because the reality of challenging an S-rank boss for the very first time is starting to sink in for the whole group. Look at Kuga sweating buckets, and you have to ask yourself, are they really strong enough to survive what's coming next? The vampire lady signals that the coast is clear, and just like that, she's pushing them to advance. They finally reach those massive doors, and she reaches out to push them open, officially kicking off this intense fight. The doors swing wide to reveal a group of shocked beasts, and trust me, they were definitely not expecting any visitors today. The monsters are scrambling everywhere, shouting in confusion and demanding to know who on earth dared to crash their domain. Mino stands her ground against the entire crowd, coolly identifying herself and making it crystal clear she's here to claim their boss. The beasts immediately panic, branding her a traitor and screaming for their allies to protect the boss at all costs. Suddenly, the room is thrown into a whirlwind of violence as their domain is officially breached. Mino remains completely unbothered while the monsters scream in a panic, desperately calling for backup. She scans the room with a cold, calculated gaze, quickly sizing up the raw power she's actually up against. Noticing how many of them there are, she shifts her tactics. She's determined to keep total control of this fight. She raises her hand and unleashes a complex magic circle, pouring all her intent into a powerful binding spell. You can practically see the disbelief on their faces as the magic manifests. It makes you wonder what kind of fate awaits those targets. As the light fades, the beasts are hit by a transformation that defies everything they know, leaving their survival hanging by a literal thread. The Shiba squad suddenly arrives on the battlefield, leaving all the surrounding monsters completely bewildered by their arrival. The onlookers are whispering, totally confused, wondering if this bizarre group is some kind of strange new summoning magic in action. Mino taps her finger, casting a potent buff and promising her ally that victory is practically in the bag. Suddenly, a brilliant surge of energy wraps around the Shiba warrior. Mino's enhancement spell is officially live. Just look at Kuga, he's totally stunned, reeling from the sheer intensity radiating off the newly buffed warrior. Then, the Shiba warrior speaks in a deep, refined voice, declaring that serving his lord is the absolute honor of his life. Can you imagine Kuga's shock? He's completely thrown off guard by that unexpected, booming voice. Kuga is spiraling into a total panic, struggling to wrap his head around this surreal spectacle right in front of him. But Mino stays focused, trusting her warrior completely and urging him to take the lead. The warrior nods to the order, but wait, he pauses, because there is one final, critical detail he has to clear up. He stands tall and declares his new identity to the group, introducing himself simply as Wano. Mino is left stammering in total confusion, trying to process this wild turn of events as the warrior holds his ground. Wano turns to rally his Shiba subordinates, firing them up to give everything they've got for their master. And the whole pack of warriors erupts in an enthusiastic cheer, ready to follow their leader straight into the fray. The crowd goes wild, absolutely amazed by the raw power this extraordinary Shiba squad is putting on display. Kuga and Mino share a quick glance, deciding to leave the cleanup to Wano so they can push forward. They bolt up the grand staircase, leaving all that battlefield chaos far behind them. But when they reach the top, they find a mysterious figure waiting for them in the shadows. The woman flashes a smile, greeting them with a chilling sense of recognition as she steps into the light. Then the dark figure rises, laughing as he reveals they've walked right into his trap. The beast is seething, swearing he's going to finally eliminate the intruder for stealing his prized minotaur. Kuga and the others freeze, totally confused as they each try to claim the mysterious girl as their own property. Imagine a chained girl stirring in the shadows, and you can practically feel the suspicion rising among our adventurers. They demand to know who this mystery captive is, but the captor just shrugs her off like she's nothing more than a hobby. The party is honestly disgusted, calling him out for hoarding people just like he did with poor Mino. The beast gets pretty indignant though, insisting that this specific captive is actually someone special to him. Mino finally reaches her breaking point with all the bickering and tells Kuga to grab the girl and get out of there, fast. Kuga's on board with that plan. He's ready to leave the werewolf to his fate while he focuses on getting the girl to safety. Suddenly, there's a sharp crack, and you won't believe your eyes as those heavy chains binding her start to shatter under the pressure. Kuga moves to carry her away, but trust me, those breaking chains are a sign that something far more dangerous is waking up. The standoff gets even tenser now, with both sides trading insults and getting ready to teach each other a lesson they won't forget. Kuga and the girl bolt through the corridor, putting as much distance as they can between themselves and the chaos. Kuga stops for a split second to check on her, asking if she's doing okay after that narrow escape. She confirms she's fine, but look at her, her appearance is totally disheveled and her clothes are hanging in tatters. Kuga notices how young she is and sees the state of her torn clothes, and honestly, you can't help but feel a pang of sympathy for her. He tells her they need to move, urging her to stick close to him so he can lead her to safety. She gives a shaky nod, and they brace themselves to make their final run for it. Behind them, the werewolf lunges right at the vampire, and suddenly we've got a brutal, high-stakes monster fight on our hands. Everyone watching is holding their breath, absolutely hooked as they witness this rare clash between two heavy hitters. The vampire just smiles while they collide, but keep your eyes peeled, the real threat might still be hiding in the shadows. Out of nowhere, the vampire girl strikes with terrifying speed, grabbing the werewolf and slamming him hard into the ground. She stands right over him as the last of those chains fall away, her eyes locked onto his, and it's honestly chilling. The werewolf lunges, but can you believe she just flicks her wrist and deflects those claws like they're nothing? She pins his face to the floor, and trust me, he's completely helpless as she gears up for the final blow. The crowd is totally stunned. How on earth is she making an S-class boss look like a total amateur? Whispers are flying through the arena, because even for her, this level of raw power is just unheard of. She doesn't even blink at the chaos. She just stares down the audience with this icy, unshakable confidence. And, just like that, the spectators lose it, cheering her on as their one and only true vampire queen. She looks back at the werewolf, and you can practically hear the venom in her voice as she mocks him for being so weak. Everyone is still in shock, just struggling to wrap their heads around how she's completely dominating an S-class entity. She's honestly bored, asking if this guy is really supposed to be an S-class boss when he's putting up such a sad fight. She scoffs at his rank, and honestly, the poor guy can only let out a nervous laugh. She's getting annoyed now, wondering why his human partner is taking so long to show his face. Kuga is starting to sweat, thinking to himself that his life is just one bad situation after another. She suddenly calls out to Kuga, asking him if he's ever played the game of werewolf. Kuga admits he knows the game, but has never actually played it, though something about her tone makes him super nervous. That dark smile returns as she starts to break down the twisted, cruel rules of the game. Imagine a werewolf hiding in plain sight among humans, just waiting for nightfall to tear the village apart. Kuga just listens, realizing he's clearly out of his depth and didn't know the first thing about the game. She calls his name again, and Kuga turns back, feeling the tension in the room shift instantly. She tells him to listen up, and her voice cuts through the air, demanding his total focus. Then, with a terrifying smile, she drops the bombshell that she is the werewolf, and poor Kuga is left completely frozen in shock. Alicia's looking everywhere, brow furrowed, wondering just where in the world Kuga could have vanished to. Suddenly, she takes off in a complete blur, dead set on hunting him down right this second. The werewolf lets out a groan. It looks like he's finally managed to knock out that fake threat, at least for now. Alicia arrives on the scene, and you can see the shock on her face the moment she spots Kuga in the middle of all this chaos. She snaps at Kuga to listen up, and honestly, the shift in the room's energy is instant and pretty intense. Alicia winces as she takes the hit, clearly struggling to keep it together after that sudden collision. Kuga just stares, letting out a massive sigh of relief because, thank goodness, his companion is still holding on. Alicia gasps, her voice shaking as she calls out Kuga's name. You can tell something is seriously wrong. Kuga turns back to look at her, totally confused, asking her what on earth is going on with her face. Alicia points, shouting a desperate warning that the girl standing right there is the real werewolf. Kuga just casually brings up that she already admitted it earlier, and, honestly, everyone is left completely speechless. The chat is absolutely blowing up, with everyone arguing about whether she's the werewolf or just charming, and let me tell you, they're fighting over who called it first. Everyone's still obsessing over her look, with one viewer trying to act like they knew she was cute all along, before quickly taking it back. The girl turns bright red as she remembers that moment Kuga said he wanted to make her one of his own. Kuga is waving his hands, insisting he's innocent and that the whole agreement was actually Alicia's idea. The girl is looking totally bewildered, struggling to figure out why Kuga would ever sign up for something this weird. Then, a sudden, frantic realization hits her, and she screams in total confusion as nothing seems to make sense anymore. The audience is having a field day roasting Kuga, wondering if he's cursed to just attract every single monster girl he meets. Suddenly, an ominous new message pops up in the chat, and it's calling for Kuga's head, claiming the traitor needs to be dealt with now. As everything spirals into total madness, she demands to know why this is even happening, and you have to wonder, can their alliance actually survive this? Just look at her blush. It's honestly adorable how her heart melts whenever she remembers how Kuga treated her with such genuine kindness. She's clearly still thinking about the moment Kuga rescued her, an act of compassion that honestly left a huge impression on her heart. She even recalls those gentle words of encouragement he gave her, and, honestly, who wouldn't be swooning after he checked on her well-being constantly? Can you believe it? She's completely overwhelmed, confessing that Kuga was actually the first person to ever speak to her with such tender care. Of course, the viewers are already roasting Kuga, asking if that little bit of affection was really all it took to win her over. Things get wild in the chat fast, with one viewer boldly stepping up and demanding to take Kuga's place right by her side. Alicia is shaking with shock, and trust me, she is absolutely struggling to process this bizarre turn of events right in front of her. She is clearly touched, admitting that she has honestly never received such sincere, heartfelt words from anyone in her life. But then Kuga just casually asks if she's been in this situation twice before, completely missing the weight of what she just confessed to him. I mean, talk about awkward. She just stands there totally stunned while the silence between them gets heavier by the second. She finally stutters out a response, but all that emotional vulnerability she just showed is quickly replaced by pure confusion. The chat is absolutely losing it, mocking the vampire's silence and predicting that some of them might not even make it through this journey. She stops for a second, secretly wondering if maybe she should just play the damsel in distress to fit in with the group better. It's getting ugly in the comments, and now viewers are threatening to unsubscribe and bail on the stream for good. She finally snaps, shouting at the audience to quit making these reckless, hurtful claims about everything that's going on. Her voice starts to crack as she tries to explain herself, and you can tell she's realizing she completely failed to get her point across. The verbal assault in the chat just doesn't stop, with everyone calling GRE a parasite and demanding she get kicked from the party right now. The vampire girl calls out to Kuga, and it's pretty obvious she's not happy with how things are currently standing between them. The chat is in total chaos now, and honestly, I don't blame them, because who saw that reveal about them being siblings coming? Now the viewers are all pointing out the obvious, noticing that striking physical resemblance they share that we all somehow missed. The chat is moving fast, and they've already pieced it together. The werewolf girl is named GRE. Everyone is just standing there, completely bewildered, as GRE keeps insisting that Kuga is her big brother. Then, she drops a bombshell. She's found her destiny and is dead set on becoming Kuga's personal minion. Can you imagine the look on their faces? Kuga and his crew are literally frozen in total shock. Kuga's mind is racing, and he's starting to wonder if he hit his head and is just hallucinating this whole wild encounter. GRE, meanwhile, is totally unbothered, clinging to Kuga with the most content look on her face. Kuga tries to talk his way out of it, but trust me, this girl is not letting go anytime soon. Wait, GRE is actually stunned. She's demanding to know if Kuga has completely lost his marbles. She grips his arm tight, whispering that she finds him incredibly kind, even with everything going on. With those wide, infatuated eyes, she confesses the truth. It was love at first sight. Her werewolf brother is losing it, repeatedly asking how she could possibly fall in love that fast. He's desperately trying to talk sense into her, warning that this obsession is a disaster waiting to happen and that Kuga might be dangerous. The chat is having a field day roasting the brother, pointing out the irony and questioning if she's even being heard. GRE tunes out the noise to reminisce about their meeting at a flower shop, while the viewers note they both have some serious stalker vibes. She pulls him even closer, insisting she doesn't care if her feelings aren't being returned. Then she turns to her brother, coldly shutting him down and leaving him totally speechless. She looks back at Kuga, eyes wide and expectant, asking if she can finally be his personal minion. Suddenly, Gre pauses, her expression shifting into a thoughtful, calculating gaze. She pivots toward the group, and you can tell the others are watching her with deep, lingering suspicion. Gre lays it all out, begging Kuga to finalize the contract so she can be summoned whenever he wants. Gre lets out a soft sigh, and, honestly, you can practically see the wheels turning as she maps out her next big move. She starts checking off her how to be a boss list, and let me tell you, she's actually managed to recruit some fresh minions. Her logic is a little wild, but she insists that if someone is a minion of her minion, that makes them hers too. Don't you love that kind of ruthless ambition? Kuga and his friend just exchange this awkward, knowing smile, like they've finally accepted that Gre's chaos is just part of the deal. Kuga can't help but wonder if they're really going to get away with bending the rules, but trust me, he has no idea what kind of trouble is heading their way. Suddenly, a notification pops up on screen. It's a brand new stream from Kumazimi, and talk about perfect timing. Alicia is practically glued to the screen, her eyes wide and sparkling, just dying to see what this group is up to. They jump right into the broadcast, and, honestly, who wouldn't be curious to see what their old party members are doing? The whole group is buzzing with questions about their former companion, and you can really feel that genuine curiosity in the room. Kuga goes quiet for a second, caught in his own thoughts as he weighs that unexpected question from his allies. The party is trekking through this wild, jagged, crystalline landscape. It's deep, glowing, and, honestly, a little bit terrifying. One of the mages explains they're just here for some mining to upgrade his staff. Nothing too crazy today, right? Since it's just a resource run, the mage is banking on an easy day with barely any combat to worry about. He's pretty honest about it too, admitting their last stream was a total mess, and they really needed to get their act together. But check this out, the team has been training nonstop, and they are dead set on making sure their movements are perfectly synced. Xiao tells everyone to take a breath and relax as they push deeper, clearly impressed by how much better they're working together. The chat is absolutely exploding with praise for Xiao's skills, though you can still see a few skeptics worried about what might happen next. Then things get real, because Xiao drops a bombshell. He was the only one who made it out of that nightmare boss fight with his old party. The viewers are pouring their hearts out in the chat, mourning his lost friends and realizing just how much Xiao was carrying the team back then. Xiao stops in his tracks, looking genuinely troubled by how worried the audience is about whether his new team can actually hold their own. Xiao stands his ground, asking his fans to keep things respectful for both his past and present party members, though he clearly appreciates the love. The chat is absolutely blowing up, calling him a total saint for his loyalty and betting big that he is going to hit S rank in no time. His viewers are doubling down on their loyalty too, promising that no matter what kind of chaos lies ahead, they are sticking right by his side. Suddenly, a sharp beep cuts through the air, and Xiao just gives a small, appreciative smile. He knows exactly what that means. The group hits a weird, web-like wall blocking their path, and honestly, Xiao is just as confused as we are while he checks it out. He stares at this glowing, magical formation, wondering if it is actually made of spider silk. But wait, is it really? Before he can even process it, the silk lashes out, and Xiao is completely caught off guard by the sudden attack. The stream chat is in absolute panic mode right now, flooding the screen with questions and begging to know if he is okay. In a flash, Xiao is yanked right into the center of the web, and just like that, he vanishes right in front of his terrified party. His companion is just staring in total shock, completely unable to process that their leader was just snatched away like that. She finally clocks the danger, realizing with a cold shiver that they have walked straight into a web-based teleportation snare. A violent flash of light lights up the room where he was standing, leaving his team alone and desperate for a way to find him. She confirms the worst, telling the others point-blank that Xiao has been kidnapped by a warp trap. Her teammates are looking at each other in pure terror, because they know a teleport trap this advanced means something way worse is hunting them. The realization hits them like a truck. They are being stalked by the legendary Arachne. It is even worse than they thought. They are being hunted by an S-rank Arachne, and the stakes just went through the roof. Trust me, you do not want to be caught in this trap, because it teleports you straight into the monster's nest, a graveyard for way too many adventurers. His friends are spiraling, knowing he is likely already in that nest, but can they actually get to him before the Arachne strikes? The chat is in total anarchy, with everyone screaming at the party to rush in and save Xiao before it is too late. Xiao lets out a frustrated sigh, steels his nerves, and signals his party to push forward. He is not going down without a fight. Picture the party standing right before a shimmering portal, staring down the gateway to some serious trouble. They don't hesitate for a second, stepping into the light as the teleportation magic pulls them into the unknown. Suddenly, they're on the 45th floor, and trust me, you do not want to be stuck in this S-rank Arachne's lair. Imagine the sheer dread when they realize they've walked straight into the middle of the monster's nest. Xiao checks the exit, and here is the kicker. That path is officially sealed tight. Thick, sticky webs have blocked the door, so they really have no choice but to push deeper into the nightmare. Then, a chilling voice echoes through the cavern, mocking them for walking right into such an obvious trap. The Arachne looms above, gloating about how today's hunt just landed her a massive haul. This S-rank monster towers over them, flashing a cruel smile that tells you the hunt is officially on. She corners the group, and you can practically feel the adventurers struggling to stand their ground against her crushing presence. The stream is blowing up right now, with viewers flooding the chat in a total panic that this could be the party's last broadcast. But the comments are also rallying behind Xiao, cheering for him to step up and prove he can handle this mess. Xiao takes it all in, steadying his nerves before he signals the team to stick to the plan. The Arachne strikes, closing the distance in a terrifying blur of motion that happens faster than you can blink. She demands they surrender, but the team isn't backing down, frantically casting defensive spells to survive the impact. Yulia makes her move, lunging forward with a powerful strike that lands a solid hit on the boss. But the chat isn't convinced, already buzzing with talk that the blow just didn't have enough power to cripple an S-rank. The Arachne fires back immediately, forcing the party into a desperate defensive stance as the fight turns brutal. She lets loose a barrage of razor-sharp webs, and Xiao has to brace himself for a hit that could end it all. Projectiles whistle through the air at insane speeds, and you'll hold your breath as the webbing narrowly misses Xiao's head. Xiao lets out a sharp cry as a strike lands, and with his defenses shattered, the screen fades to black. Can they really survive this? But watch how the healer steps up, firing off his signature auto-heal to soak up that incoming damage. The chat is absolutely blowing up right now, giving props to that high-tier magic and realizing it's their only ticket to staying in this fight. Then Mika kicks it into high gear, triggering her acceleration buff to push the party's speed to the absolute limit. People in the chat are loving Mika's support, though, believe me, the debate over her tactical choices is getting pretty heated. Some of you are asking why she didn't boost Sarah first, but the others are quick to shut that criticism down. Meanwhile, the Arachne is watching them with this creepy, predatory grin, and you can tell she's already figured out how they tick. Her cold eyes lock onto the healer, and trust me, she knows exactly who the linchpin of their defense is. The whole party freezes in their tracks as they realize, a little too late, that the monster has shifted her focus. The beast lunges forward, deciding that taking out the healer is the quickest way to end this. The healer is completely exposed now, and with that predator closing in, you have to wonder if his luck has finally run out. The Arachne actually taunts them, claiming that human tactics are no match for a monster who can think on her feet. She drops the act and reveals her true plan, basically telling them she's done playing with her food. Suddenly, she starts prepping a massive area of effect strike, and it looks like she's planning to wipe the whole party off the map. Panic starts to set in as they realize the sheer scale of the nightmare coming their way. The healer is screaming for Yulia, begging for any kind of cover as that devastating attack descends. Yulia doesn't hesitate, moving in a blur to intercept the lethal blow before it can land. She manages to parry the massive strike, throwing up a desperate barrier to keep her teammate alive. The healer lets out a huge sigh of relief, thanking Yulia for stepping in right when it mattered most. But just as they breathe, a sudden, haunting realization hits them, and you'll see why they're all shouting Makari's name in pure alarm. Makari stands tall in the ruins, checking that everyone is okay, but trust me, they know the fight isn't over yet. The Arachne towers over them, and, honestly, she's really enjoying watching them squirm in her deadly trap. She cinches those silk threads tighter, taunting them with the terrifying thought that their nightmare is only just beginning. The poor captive fights back, but those webs are suffocating, and she is completely at the monster's mercy. Can you imagine the horror? The party watches helplessly, thinking this is the very last time they'll see their comrade. She's fighting for her life against that thick web, realizing just how quickly things have spiraled into a total disaster. The team is already bickering over their tactics, pointing out that Yulia definitely wasn't meant to be the one holding the line. One hero screams that it's all too much, terrified that the Yulia they once knew is lost to them forever. Arguments are flaring up now, with everyone debating whether Yulia should have run for it or stayed to protect their healer. With a guttural roar, the hero lunges forward, throwing everything he has into breaking through that monster's guard. He lands a brutal hit, slicing right into the Arachne's grotesque hide, but it's not enough to stop her. But wait, look at that, the celebration dies instantly as those wounds seal up right before his eyes. The Arachne just grins, mockingly asking if she's done something wrong, and, honestly, it's bone-chilling. Panic sets in as they realize she can regenerate, while our hero is already hitting his limit from the exertion. The monster gears up for a final, crushing blow, and you can just feel their hope slipping away entirely. The party is screaming for Shaun, desperate for a miracle as the whole situation descends into total chaos. It's pure panic now. Everyone's getting tangled up, and their shouts are just echoing off the chamber walls. Sarah and Makari are pinned tight against the wall, completely helpless against those relentless, suffocating webs. They're begging Sarah to step up and heal the wounded hero, but he just won't move. Sarah is absolutely seething, calling his own teammates idiots and blaming them for holding him back. He turns his back on the carnage, walking toward a distant light while leaving his allies trapped behind. Suddenly, he stops dead in his tracks, shocked to see that the heavy vault door has drifted open on its own. Think about it, that massive entrance was sealed from the inside, yet somehow, it's now standing wide open. Sarah sees this impossible gap as a total miracle, a one-in-a-million shot at his own survival. He cold-bloodedly abandons his crew, and you have to wonder, is he really just leaving them there to die? Sarah is spiraling into a delusional frenzy, blinded by his own ego and refusing to even consider that he might be next. As Sarah crosses the threshold, a mysterious figure steps out from the shadows to block his path to safety. A sudden, sharp impact echoes through the chamber. Someone else has just arrived. Sarah stands there in the dim light, clearly annoyed that his escape plan has hit a snag. The newcomer is totally confused, demanding to know why the vault door is slamming shut. He's clearly rattled by the chaos. Sarah stares him down with a cold, hard look, realizing his exit is being challenged while the newcomer struggles to remember how he even got there. Kuga steps up, ready for a fight, and you can feel the tension as they both realize this encounter was never part of the plan. Kuga doesn't hesitate, he lunges forward, his blade slicing through the air with lethal intent. The monster watches this new arrival with predatory curiosity, wondering how on earth the party could possibly exceed the 4-member limit. Sarah mulls over the word salvation, but trust me, that calm exterior is just hiding some pretty dark calculations. The truth finally hits. The hero's secret power has been identified, and it's a rare ability known as salvation. This skill forces a swap, dragging a new member into the fray to keep the party at 4, but can this strategy actually save them? Kuga throws himself into the heat of the battle, signaling a desperate turning point for everyone involved. Thinking back on the tactical nightmare, Kuga admits that swapping with the fallen Yulia or Makari would have been the smarter move. But under all that pressure, Kuga made his choice. He decided to swap out Shaun instead. Picture Shaun suddenly left all alone, stranded out there, and forced to face his isolation. Can you imagine the panic? He's desperately begging for a way out before that heavy vault door slams shut for good. Kuga wastes no time, immediately pivoting and calling out to Alicia with a sharp sense of urgency. He needs one last favor from the demon, and trust me, the chaos around them has only hardened his resolve. The demon just watches him with that chilling curiosity, wondering what he's actually planning with this frantic request. Kuga doesn't blink. He orders the demon to shield Shaun from the Arachne's deadly incoming fire. She clearly hates the idea, but she agrees, and suddenly the entire party's fate is hanging by a thread. As the team pushes ahead, a broadcast pops up asking why the vampire isn't jumping in to help today. The vampire speaks up, explaining she's actually ineligible to join this fight, so she's sidelined for now. And here's a massive revelation. Kuga realizes this 4-member limit applies to monsters too. Kuga doesn't hold back, brushing off the healer and calling him a total nuisance, even if he is just a nobody. You can see the shock on the healer's face when he's called spineless, but Kuga's eyes stay locked on the goal. Kuga admits he could maybe look past the healer's attitude, but honestly, even his patience has a breaking point. Watch his expression shift, he's darkening, and you know he's about to call out the healer's hypocrisy. Kuga scoffs at the guy, pointing out that someone who tried to abandon them has no business looking down on anyone. The healer starts shaking, finally realizing that Kuga is calling him out for the way he tossed Shaun aside. He's stammering and in full denial, but the weight of his own betrayal is hitting him like a freight train. He simply refuses to believe that Shaun could ever be capable of such a cold-blooded betrayal. But here's the thing, the chat remembers that weird blackout Shaun had, and it's fueling some serious suspicions. The healer's blood runs cold as he realizes this is exactly what happened right before his old party was wiped out. The viewers aren't holding back, calling his behavior a total guilty charge and mocking him for being so pathetic. Now watch Kuga face off against that encroaching Arachne, blade drawn and ready for a seriously brutal fight. Can you believe it? The Arachne actually recoils in pure shock at the raw intensity Kuga is throwing her way. Kuga lunges forward and, trust me, his strikes are surgical as he systematically tears that monster's defenses apart. Listen to that creature shriek as Kuga unleashes a flurry of attacks. There is absolutely no room for her to escape. Even with all that carnage unfolding, Kuga keeps this chillingly focused expression, totally unfazed by the chaos. With one final, decisive movement, he severs her limbs, and just like that, the threat is history. The Arachne lets out a piercing shriek, clearly overwhelmed and forced back by the sheer pressure Kuga is exerting. Kuga stands his ground, blade ready, leaving everyone in the chat completely dumbfounded by what they're seeing. The spectators are struggling to wrap their heads around how he's single-handedly dominating an S-class monster like this. His team is watching in total awe, and, honestly, they're starting to question if they ever really knew what he was capable of. The healer just stares, finally beginning to grasp the terrifying reality of the power he used to dismiss. It's sinking in that this is just a glimpse of Kuga's strength, but imagine what happens when he actually goes all out. But here's the thing, a month ago, Kuga was hit with an ultimatum, basically demanding he get out of Kumazimi right then and there. You can imagine the confusion. The surrounding party members were absolutely shocked by such a cold demand. See, everyone knew the hero job was limited, not exactly meant to be a jack-of-all-trades role. But Kuga? He defied every single expectation, proving he was just built differently than the rest of them. He literally shattered the limits of what a hero was supposed to be, changing the game entirely. Kuga didn't just participate, he excelled everywhere, mastering offense, defense, support, and even the healing arts. He wasn't some basic jack-of-all-trades. He was a true, powerhouse all-rounder in every sense of the word. You won't believe this, but his raw combat power was actually on par with an S-rank boss. The secret? Kuga was just born with this insane, natural-born talent that puts everyone else to shame. But if he had this kind of terrifying strength the whole time, you have to wonder, what was his real motive for betraying them? Behind the scenes, Kuga spent years in total silence, grinding until he finally unlocked his true potential. Here is the kicker. Since Kumazimi lacked a healer, they forced Kuga to pull double duty as both the tank and the medic. Now they're finally admitting that his incredible power was completely wasted just keeping their sorry group alive. They actually try to justify their betrayal as a necessary move to finally break the chains they put on him. The party members are starting to hesitate, and, honestly, they're wondering if there was ever a better way to handle him. One of them even wonders out loud if they should have just been straight with him from the start. But let's be real, total honesty wouldn't have mattered, because Kuga would have stayed by their side anyway. They're finally realizing that Kuga's self-esteem was so low, he was literally blinded to how powerful he really was. His sense of duty was just too stubborn for him to ever realize he was being used and walk away. But now that we know the truth about his sacrifice, do you think he even wants to be saved? The party is watching in stunned silence, finally seeing just how badly they underestimated him. They admit that even if he couldn't take down the vampire boss solo, he definitely would have made a huge name for himself. Driven by their own secret agendas, they kicked Kuga out of Kumazimi to face that lethal threat all on his own. They stayed in the shadows, glued to his livestream, just waiting to see how he'd hold up. They were ready to swoop in and break into that hidden chamber the second things started looking bad for him. Inside that chamber, Kuga is face-to-face with the beast, and his movements are absolutely precise and relentless. He shouts out a healing spell, weaving magic through the air just to keep his strength from fading away. The creature recoils in agony, but just as the magic flares, Kuga collapses. Can he really survive this? That Arachne just laughs, mocking him and revealing that she has some nasty healing tricks of her own. Everyone watching the stream is losing their minds, realizing this monster's regeneration is way faster than they thought. Kuga's strikes aren't doing a thing, and you can see him starting to hit his limit. The Arachne is just toying with him now, taunting him while he bleeds out right in front of her. He's still standing, but trust me, he is barely holding on against this relentless beast. In a final act of desperation, Kuga cries out to Sarah. He has to break this stalemate now. Sarah appears, totally caught off guard by that urgent plea coming from the front lines. Kuga begs her to step in and hold the Arachne off for just a few precious moments. Look at his eyes. They're filled with this quiet, desperate resolve that will chill you to the bone. He grips his weapon with everything he has, but as the clock runs out, his strength completely abandons him. Sarah stands there in total shock, trying to process why her old comrade is suddenly acting like this. With a guttural roar, Kuga launches himself at the monster, slicing through the air while the party watches, frozen in fear. Kuga drops a sudden apology, leaving his party completely baffled by his bizarre and unsettling shift in tone. But here is the twist: he reveals that these lethal moves are actually the secret to activating a brand new, mysterious trait. He turns to them with a cold stare, making it clear that this isn't personal, and he owes them absolutely nothing. The party is reeling as the terrifying truth sinks in. Honestly, you won't believe what dark secret is about to unfold. The Arachne gives a cruel smile, finally ready to spill the truth about why the vampire was protecting her all along. It hits them like a ton of bricks. This monster isn't just a fighter, she's a required sacrifice for the ritual. Suddenly, the monster snares him, pinning his body tight as he desperately struggles to break free from that lethal grip. Kuga lets out one final, agonizing scream as the creature's raw power overwhelms him. Is this really the end for our fallen hero? Arachne just flashes a mocking smirk, like she couldn't care less about the pain Kuga is going through right now. She leans in with a cold, cruel grin, telling him his own monstrous nature made this fate inevitable. Can you believe the line between hero and monster is finally dissolving into darkness? Shaun watches in pure horror as everything spirals out of control, just unable to accept that this is really happening. But he refuses to fold, clinging to a desperate hope that he can still somehow turn this outcome around. He's haunted by the memory of his grueling journey to reach S rank, lamenting that all his hard work is being undone in an instant. Shaun demands to know if his efforts mean absolutely nothing, but Kuga only offers a cold, hollow apology that chills you to the bone. Kuga raises his blade, declaring he has no time left to waste on silly sentimentality or regret. Shaun lets out a piercing, agonized scream as the cold reality of this betrayal finally hits him. Kuga plunges his sword downward, striking Shaun without even a hint of hesitation or mercy in his eyes. The whole party watches this brutal act in total silence, struggling to process that Kuga actually went through with it. Desperate pleas echo through the air as the party cries out, begging Kuga to just explain his twisted motives. Suddenly, the Arachne collapses as a massive, surging power erupts around Kuga, signaling the start of a dark transformation. The Arachne is struggling now, her movements hampered by the crushing, heavy weight of the unfolding ritual. Kuga strikes with surgical precision, his blade cutting through the air as the Arachne recoils in complete disbelief. The Arachne stares, her eyes widening as she realizes the entire tide of the battle has shifted. Nearby, the party watches the chaos unfold, just unable to comprehend this sudden, shocking reversal of fortune. Confusion ripples through the group as they demand answers, but honestly, they aren't finding any. The vampire just lets out a chilling, knowing laugh, mocking their ignorance as she prepares to reveal the ugly truth. She leans in, her voice dripping with malice, declaring that Kuga is no longer the man they once knew. Trapped and desperate, the Arachne screams out, dying to know what twisted fate has actually taken Kuga. The vampire just shrugs it off, coldly refusing to explain a single thing to the Arachne's frantic pleas. But then she shifts focus, claiming Kuga's new life as a fallen hero sparked the very moment he took his first life. Kuga steps in to drop a bombshell, revealing that his fallen hero job actually shares the same core as his original one. He says it with a dark grin, but get this, he actually managed to keep that salvation trait through his entire dark evolution. It gets worse, because while his offensive power has skyrocketed, he's sacrificed every single ability to heal or support anyone else. He spells it out for us, explaining that his soul salvation power actually multiplies his strength every time he erases a soul. Trust me, the word salvation sounds noble, but Kuga admits it is just a pretty mask for total annihilation. He concludes with a chilling promise. The more lives he extinguishes, the stronger he gets, and now the party is left to face his wrath. Can you imagine the shock? Mikari and Kuga just retreat into the distance, while the party stands there in total silence. Suddenly, a chilling realization hits Mikari, and honestly, she looks like she can barely even process what's happening. Sarah tries so hard to clear the air, but the tension in the room is just suffocating. The party is frozen in absolute disbelief, and you can see their confusion deepening with every passing second. Then, Mikari turns back, and her expression hardens as she realizes something truly critical about this whole mess. Sarah frantically asks why she's acting so strange, dying to understand why there's been such a sudden shift in her demeanor. But Mikari just snaps, ordering Sarah to be quiet as all those suppressed emotions finally start to boil over. She can't hold it in anymore, and she declares she is absolutely done watching everyone throw their lives away. Makari decides it's time to reveal everything, and you can see the terror on the party's faces as they watch her break down. The truth is finally laid bare before Kuga and us, setting the stage for a final, irreversible confrontation. The house goes completely silent, heavy with the weight of the time they have left. Picture Alicia watching over Kuga, but honestly, his mind is light years away from where they are right now. She steps closer, and you can practically feel the tension snap as she calls his name to break his trance. He turns, and you should see Alicia jump. She's completely caught off guard, fumbling for words under his intense stare. She finally asks what's going on, and you can hear that nervous tremor in her voice, can't you? Then Kuga drops the bombshell, staring right through her as he declares he's heading back to fight Kumazimi tomorrow. Alicia is left totally stunned, and frankly, her weak little agreement says everything about how she's feeling. He looks her dead in the eye with this heavy, somber expression and asks her to join him on this suicide mission. Can you imagine the weight of that? Alicia is left completely speechless, looking like she's seen a ghost. Under that eerie moonlight, she finally gives in, and just like that, their fate for tomorrow night is sealed. Meanwhile, the Demoness is watching it all go down with wide, shocked eyes, processing every single word. The next day rolls around, and there's the group, standing right at the edge of something truly terrifying. They've hit the 43rd floor, and you can feel the pressure mounting as they gather right outside the boss room. Suddenly, someone steps out from the shadows, and trust me, the look on their faces says they know it's a trap. As they stand at the entrance, Kuga turns to the party and actually thanks them for sticking by his side. Alicia tries to find the right words to say back, but she's just staring at him, totally falling apart. Then this weird, unfamiliar feeling hits her, and she's genuinely worried about why her heart is racing like this. She's spiraling a bit, wondering if this is actually what nervousness feels like. Can you believe she's never felt this before? She tries to play it cool and tell herself that Kuga's return doesn't even matter, but we know better, right? The silence is deafening until Kuga cuts right through it, asking if she's already looking for a new healer. Alicia and the rest of the crew just stare back in total confusion, completely baffled by his out-of-nowhere question. Kuga shrugs it off, admitting he doesn't have an elite like Shaun, but trust me, he's already found someone else for the job. Alicia stares him down, trying to figure out if this guy is actually changing the plan or just messing with her. Kuga catches her expression and asks why she's wearing that smile, leaving us all wondering what the heck is going to happen next. She turns bright red and insists she isn't smiling at him at all, and, honestly, the whole party looks like they have no idea what's going on. The energy in the room shifts completely when Kuga finally drops the news that he's found a new healer for the team. Get this, he introduces her as Kushina, a talented regenerator who is actually dying to join their crew. The group is totally blindsided by the mention of a regenerator, immediately questioning if she can really pull her weight. Kuga doubles down, confirming her role and throwing in a wild detail. She's actually looking to break into streaming, too. He admits she's a bit green in the field, but since she was a top-tier student, he's betting she'll be a pro in no time. Kuga isn't backing down one bit, promising the group that her healing abilities are absolutely top-notch. Alicia is listening to every word, but keep your eyes on her face. She's keeping her reaction totally hidden as she processes this team shakeup. They start weighing the pros and cons of keeping the name Kushina to maintain their party's brand, though the tension is still thick enough to cut with a knife. Suddenly, Alicia snaps and demands Kushina's contact info, clearly ready to put this new recruit to the test herself. But then, hold on, Alicia freezes as a notification pops up right in front of her, and trust me, she looks completely shell-shocked. The message is a massive alert. An Arachne has been taken down by the notorious Evil Slayer. Alicia is staring in pure disbelief, and the rest of the crew is just as lost, struggling to even process who this Slayer actually is. Kuga stays locked onto the screen, watching as the broadcast continues to taunt them with every single word. The voice on the stream starts mocking the hero, asking if he and his party are finally catching the show. The streamer goes on the offensive, questioning how they can act so confident when they haven't even managed to take down a single S-rank boss. He doesn't stop there, calling the hero a coward and doing everything he can to bait them into a reaction. Picture this. The screen cuts to the remains of a fallen monster, and let me tell you, it is a gruesome wake-up call. The streamer isn't holding back, using the defeated Arachne as a twisted lesson on who really runs the show. He flashes a dark, unsettling grin, and you just know this is only the start of his psychological game. Kuga suddenly realizes he's dealing with the notorious Evil Slayer party, and trust me, the mood shifts instantly. The tension is palpable as Kuga sees their mission just hit a massive, dangerous roadblock. The party gathers their thoughts, already looking ahead to the construction of their new base on the 43rd floor. Alicia breaks down the brutal requirements for an SS rank, making it clear that building a boss castle is their top priority. They decide on the peaceful lakeshore as their sanctuary, a place where they can finally catch a glimpse of the open sky. You can see the kobolds and werewolves getting straight to work, turning that quiet lakeshore into a true fortress. But then, out of nowhere, a chilling sound pierces the air and Wano shouts out in total alarm. Alicia and the hero snap to attention, realizing their moment of peace has just been shattered. Look at that, a massive, jagged projectile streaks across the sky, heading straight for their construction site. Alicia doesn't hesitate for a second, throwing up a shield to stop the attack before their hard work is destroyed. Her magic collides with the projectile in a blinding flash, sending debris flying everywhere across the floor. As the smoke clears, a mocking message pops up, laughing at their dreams of building a castle. The party is understandably shaken, left scrambling as their quiet base becomes a battlefield. Another taunting message flashes by, this time threatening to take down the hero's vampire companion. Yurikawa steps up to shut it down, coolly reminding this mystery challenger exactly who they're messing with. The whole party is left reeling, wondering if this is a genuine threat or just another sick provocation. Yurikawa doesn't even blink, standing his ground as he stares down the source of the chaos. Kuga pinpoints the source of the hostility, and trust me, it is the notorious and terrifying Evil Slayer party. Alicia looks on in total bewilderment, trying to wrap her head around why this deadly group would target them right now. Kuga breaks it down for us, explaining that this S-rank party declared all-out war the second the Arachne incident went down. That realization hits Alicia like a physical blow, and you can practically see her reeling from this sudden, nightmare turn of events. Yurikawa steps up and demands to know exactly who they think they are punishing, because he is not backing down 1 inch. The crowd starts screaming in a panic, and you would too, as they scramble to escape that self-proclaimed hero and his nasty, taunting threats. Yurikawa just sneers at the vampire and the hero, brushing them off like they are nothing more than useless speed bumps. He lets them know that their total destruction is only just beginning, and honestly, it sounds like he means it. Alicia wonders if they actually started this, but the enemy fires back with a chilling warning that defending monsters comes with a heavy price. Then Kuga drops the brutal truth. They have already wiped out the entire Monster Slayer Junior team. Alicia is frozen in place, finally grasping the cold, hard reality of the massive danger they are in. Yurikawa vows to wipe that smug look right off their faces, telling them to sit tight and wait in fear for what is coming. The whole party is struggling to process that these evil slayers are actually gunning for them with lethal intent. Alicia snaps back, telling them to quit hiding behind their comments and show themselves if they really want to fight. That blunt challenge totally shifts the tension, and the audience is eating it up as the mystery behind the attackers only gets deeper. Yurikawa stays cool, brushing off the aggressive commentary and asking exactly who has the nerve to challenge him. He stares right into the camera with this intense, calm gaze, and then reveals that the mastermind behind the screen is actually himself. The realization hits hard that Yurikawa was broadcasting under a burner account, and you can just feel the frantic, sudden wave of regret. A week crawls by in total, eerie silence, but the party stays on high alert, watching every shadow for their next move. Sarah gets an urgent order to pull up the Evil Slayer stream, and let me tell you, it looks like the real chaos is finally about to start. Picture this. The broadcast kicks off with a totally chilling announcement about a campfire stream. The whole group is locked onto the screen, watching those flames flicker away in the background. Yurikawa starts mocking the hero and the vampire, just soaking in how helpless they look. Then he leans right into the camera, staring us down with a direct, personal challenge. Suddenly, it hits Kuga like a ton of bricks. The kobold's manor is their next target. Kuga's face goes grim as he points out they struck the second everyone was out of the house. Alicia doesn't hesitate, telling Kuga he needs to get over to Wano right this second. Kuga accepts the mission without a word and catches up with the others to head out. Alicia offers a genuinely heartfelt apology to Wano, feeling the weight of everything going wrong. Wano gives a heavy-hearted reply, and honestly, you can tell their future is hanging by a thread. Then, watch this, Wano flinches under a sudden, crushing pressure and his confidence just shatters. You can see the total despair wash over Wano's face as the reality of their situation finally sinks in. Alicia and Kuga are watching it all, their faces hardening as they realize just how real this threat has become. Alicia whispers a hollow apology, admitting they've totally failed, before barking the order to retreat. Yurikawa is loving every second of this, bragging about the creature's destruction and the chaos he's caused. It's honestly wild. The legendary salamander, a top-tier S-rank boss, is now just a puppet in his twisted game. Look at the beast. Its massive body is completely battered and scarred, showing us exactly how brutal these attacks have been. Yurikawa keeps on mocking the hero and his friends, treating their entire struggle like it's just a side dish to his main event. He starts pacing through the ruins, promising us that the real nightmare is going to kick off in just 3 days. That wicked grin spreads across his face, and you just know he's got one final, devastating act planned to end them for good. Suddenly, the broadcast cuts in, and you won't believe the chilling promise Yurikawa makes to destroy everyone they love and burn their castle to the ground. Can you imagine the weight of that threat? Poor Kuga and Alicia are left totally shaken, really struggling to wrap their heads around the news. Just look at these smoking ruins. Guys, the group has to face the hard truth that their base has been completely reduced to nothing but ash. Then, Yurikawa's mocking laughter breaks the silence. He's actually reveling in their despair, and it's honestly chilling. Alicia is hit hard by this, taking full responsibility and tearfully admitting that this entire disaster rests on her shoulders. Even Wano is struggling to find his footing, his voice trembling as he asks himself if this nightmare is actually happening. Alicia finally opens up, admitting she was completely blind and totally underestimated just how far the enemy was willing to go. Kuga watches him closely and realizes that while these enemies are undeniably cruel, they've got a sharp, calculated intelligence that's dangerous. He thinks about their cowardice, realizing that their tactical approach has left our heroes feeling completely exposed and vulnerable. The attackers moved with surgical precision, ignoring the small stuff to systematically shatter the group's morale, and as they look around, the true scale of the plan starts to sink in. Alicia immediately snaps into action, ordering her forces to brace for impact and set up an impenetrable line of defense. Kuga and his loyal canine companion know exactly how dire this is, but they're standing tall, ready to face whatever storm is coming their way. Just an hour after that terrifying declaration of war, the clock strikes 3 in the afternoon. Suddenly, the silence is shattered by a live broadcast, and there's Yurikawa on the screen, greeting them with that same smug look. He's grinning with such malicious glee as he introduces himself as the true face of the Evil Slayers. But then, he drops a bombshell. He's mockingly retracting his timeline, just carelessly admitting he lied about that 3-day window. The viewers are absolutely outraged by his lies, but get this, Yurikawa just finds their desperation hilarious. He reveals he's broadcasting right from the upper layer, tucked away near the vampire construction site. He pauses for a second, that sharp glint in his eyes, and you can just tell he's about to drop a truly devastating revelation. He confirms their reach goes deep underground, and that's the kicker. There isn't a single corner of the territory that's safe anymore. Yurikawa flashes a grin and turns his attention to his partner Hibio, who is hiding out deep underground. The viewers are absolutely floored, and honestly, who can blame them for struggling to piece together how these two are in totally different spots? Yurikawa just leans into the confusion, bragging that Hibio is operating way down beneath their feet. Here is the kicker. Hibio has actually managed to infiltrate the 45th floor, and the weight of that is starting to sink in. Yurikawa starts taunting everyone, asking if you've managed to figure out his twisted endgame yet. Hibio stands ready, and trust me, he is positioned right in front of the formidable werewolf manor. Take a look at the target. The werewolf manor is sitting there, and it's under immediate threat. The chat is absolutely blowing up, with everyone calling out Yurikawa for his scummy tactics and that sudden shift in his plans. Yurikawa signals his massive salamander, ordering it to torch the place before he even thinks about dealing with Grey. He makes a cold, final vow that he is going to break Grey and force her to howl in agony, and you can tell he really means it. The werewolf turns to his comrade, demanding to know exactly who is in the crosshairs of such a crazy threat. The confusion is getting real, because shouldn't the werewolves be busy building Alicia's fortress instead of standing around here? He explains that Alicia personally ordered everyone to return to the castle, and he is just as bewildered as the rest of us. The masked figure just stands there in silence, and you can almost feel the gravity of the situation crushing them. Suddenly, a notification pops up. The vampire is starting her own broadcast, and the tension in the room just went through the roof. The screen flickers to life to reveal Alicia, and the silence before the storm is officially over. Alicia steps onto the screen, introducing herself with that chilling, calm composure that honestly gives me the creeps. She addresses the situation head-on, noting that the Slayers have already started their assault on her turf. Alicia vows to meet their malice with her own, dismissing their little plan as totally predictable and, honestly, not even a surprise. Yurikawa laughs off the irony of a monster preaching morality, but watch closely, that smile is hiding one final, lethal move.